Tonight, you will discover a quiet truth, a gentle secret that masters of contemplation have carried for centuries, a way to soothe the restless mind and find profound, nourishing rest. I am going to share a collection of Zen stories, ancient pearls of wisdom, designed to help you gently silence the endless chatter, the planning, the worrying, and find the deep sleep that awaits you. Each story is a key, unlocking your mind's own natural capacity to release the weight of the day, to let go of the burdens you were never meant to carry into the night. And this is different from mere distraction. These Buddhist teachings work beneath the surface of your thoughts, even if you have never practiced Zen meditation before. Even if your mind feels like a stormy sea, even if you believe you have tried everything. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." Over the next few hours, you will come to feel exactly what this means. As we journey through these tales of wise guides, quiet forests, and unexpected clarity, you will notice something wonderful. The tension in your shoulders may begin to soften. Your breathing may deepen. Your thoughts, once racing, will begin to slow, dissolving like ripples on a still, moonlit lake. So, allow yourself to get comfortable. Adjust your pillow. Let your body feel heavy, supported, and safe. Take one slow, deep breath with me now, in through your nose, and as you exhale, sighing out, know that you have just taken the first step on a journey back to yourself. Let us begin. Our first story unfolds on a wide, winding river, a river known for its powerful, unpredictable currents. There lived an old ferryman, a man whose face was lined with the wisdom of the water. He spent his days guiding a simple wooden boat from one bank to the other, a task he had performed for decades with a quiet, unhurried grace. One afternoon, a young merchant, anxious to reach the far side for an important meeting, stepped into the boat. He was full of restless energy, tapping his foot on the wooden slats. As the ferryman pushed off, he did not aim straight across. Instead, he angled the boat upstream, letting the main current catch them and guide them in a slow, deliberate arc. The young merchant grew impatient. "Old man, why are you so slow? The market will close. Steer directly. We must fight the current." The ferryman simply continued his steady, rhythmic strokes, his eyes fixed on the water's surface, reading its secrets. Growing frustrated, the merchant lunged for the second oar. "Let me help you fight," he shouted, plunging the oar deep into the water at the wrong moment. He instantly struck a hidden eddy, a swirling vortex beneath the surface. The boat lurched violently, nearly capsizing, throwing the merchant back onto his seat, his face pale with shock. The old man, with a single, effortless movement, righted the boat. He looked at the terrified passenger, and his quiet voice was just loud enough to be heard above the river. "The river cannot be fought. It can only be understood." The old ferryman, in his simple, profound action, embodied a truth that is the very heart of peace. He understood what the young merchant, in his frantic hurry, could not. That the greatest strength is not found in resistance, but in alignment. The river is the flow of life. It is the natural current of events, the passage of time, and tonight, it is the flow of your own mind. The merchant represents our anxious, thinking mind, the part of us that has a destination, a goal, a desperate need to be somewhere else. The part that believes we must fight our way to peace, that we must control the flow of our thoughts, that if we just push harder, we can force relaxation to happen. This is the source of our overthinking. This is the root of the anxiety that keeps us awake. We are the merchant, lunging for the oar, trying to wrestle the unpredictable current of our mind into submission. And what is the result? We create turbulence. We strike hidden eddies, those sudden whirlpools of panic or frustration, and we nearly capsize our own vessel, finding ourselves further from peace than when we started. The ferryman shows us another way, a way of profound wisdom. He does not fight the river, he understands it. He has spent so long observing its nature that he knows how to use the current itself to reach his destination. This is the art of effortless action. He angles his boat, making small, wise adjustments, and then he lets the river do the work. This is what Buddhist meditation teaches us. It is not about stopping thoughts, which is as impossible as stopping the river. It is about changing our relationship to them. It is about learning to sit in the boat, observe the current, and trust the flow. How often, as you lie here in the dark, do you become the merchant? How often do you fight the river of your thoughts? You might notice a thought about tomorrow, a worry, a memory, and your mind instantly tries to fight it, to push it away, to solve it right now. I must not think this, you say, and in that moment, you have plunged your oar into the water, creating resistance, creating struggle. The wisdom of the ferryman is to simply let the thought be, to see it as a part of the river's flow. It is just water passing by. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to follow it. You can simply remain in the boat, anchored by the rhythm of your own breath. As you lie here, feel the bed supporting you. This is your boat. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. This is your steady oar, not fighting, but gently guiding. The river of your mind will flow. Let it. You are not the river. You are the observer, the ferryman, safe in your vessel. Peace does not come from winning the fight against your mind. Peace comes from realizing there was never a fight to begin with. There is only a river, and you are learning, at last, how to flow with it. Let us now journey to a quiet garden, where a lesson in finding peace amidst change awaits. There once lived an artist, a woman named Alara, renowned for her ability to capture the very essence of life in her paintings. She was a perfectionist, driven by a need to freeze moments of perfect beauty. One spring, she found a rare lotus, a single blossom of impossible purity, unfolding in her pond. This, she thought, is perfection. I must capture it before it fades. For days, she sat consumed by her work. She mixed the perfect shade of pink, the exact shimmer of the morning dew, but the flower was alive. It changed with the light. Each brushstroke seemed a failure, a shadow of the living truth. Her peaceful focus began to curdle, turning into a quiet obsession. She was no longer painting with joy, but with a desperate fear of time. One afternoon, as she was finally close, the sky darkened. A sudden, violent wind tore through the garden, lashing the trees and churning the pond. Rain followed, a cold, hard torrent. Ilara's first instinct was to run, to save her canvas. She cried out in despair, watching as the wind and rain battered the delicate petals. Her masterpiece, her moment of perfection, was being destroyed before her eyes. She was trapped. The past, the days of perfect light, was gone. The future, a completed painting, was impossible. As she stood there, frozen in her sorrow, something caught her eye. One petal, bruised and torn by the wind, had fallen onto the surface of the water. It was no longer perfect. It was dying, and in that moment, it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. She saw the delicate purple veins as the color faded, the beauty of its surrender, the grace in its ending. In that instant, She stopped thinking about perfection. She stopped thinking about the wind, her frustration, her loss. She picked up her brush, and with a steady hand, she began to paint the dying petal. And as she painted, for the first time, she felt truly at peace. The Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This profound truth is the heart of Alara's story, the story of the artist and the flower. It reveals a deep insight into our human condition. So often, we find ourselves suspended, just like her. We are suspended between two powerful forces, the regrets and attachments of our past, and the worries and ambitions for our future. The perfect flower she was trying to paint, that was her attachment. For us, this might be a memory of a time we were happier, a mistake we wish we could undo, or a relationship we can't let go of. These are the attachments to the past. The perfect painting she was trying to create, that was her ambition. For us, this is the future, the if only. If only I get that job. If only this night ends and tomorrow is better. If only I can solve this problem. We convince ourselves that peace is waiting after we achieve that future state. And so, we live trapped, unavailable to the only moment that is ever real. The wind and the rain, that was life. That was reality, unfolding in a way she did not plan, in a way she could not control. How often does life do that to us? And in that moment of chaos, she found the dying petal. That petal is the present moment. It is not the idealized, perfect present we dreamed of. It is not the future we were striving for. It is simply what is. It is messy, imperfect, and fading. And yet, as she discovered, it is exquisitely beautiful, if we only have the eyes to see it. This is the fragrance of the now, the story of the strawberry in other tales. This is the same wisdom, the simple, available joy that exists alongside our difficulties. The artist's peace did not come when the wind stopped. It did not come when she finished her perfect painting. It came when she stopped resisting reality and fully, completely, attended to the dying petal. Look deeply at your own mind tonight. How much of your suffering, your restlessness, comes from replaying a past you cannot change? The harsh words spoken, the opportunities missed. That is the ghost of the perfect flower. And how much of your anxiety comes from rehearsing a future that has not yet arrived? The tasks of tomorrow, the worries about health or finance, that is the ghost of the perfect painting. The practice of Zen meditation is to gently bring our awareness back to the dying petal of this moment. It doesn't deny the reality of the wind or the rain. The challenges are real, but it offers us a different relationship to them. What is the fragrance of your present moment? Perhaps it is not a sweet, perfect lotus. Perhaps it is just the simple feeling of your own breathing, a gentle rising and falling. Perhaps it is the warmth of the blanket against your skin. Perhaps it is the quiet sound of my voice, or the silence in your room. These simple, sensory experiences are always available, even in our most difficult moments. But we miss them when we are consumed by the ghosts of past and future. Tonight, as thoughts of yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's duties arise, remember the artist. Can you gently guide your awareness back to the petal of the present? Can you find one small, simple, real sensation to rest your mind upon? The Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. By savoring the imperfect, available beauty of each moment, we discover that peace is not waiting for us. when the storm passes. It is available, right here, in the midst of it. Our next story reveals a profound truth about the nature of our suffering and the separation between pain and the anguish we create around it. It comes from the teaching of the pebble and the second wound. A young seeker, let us call him Alistair, was on a long pilgrimage, walking a dusty, rugged path to a mountain monastery. He was determined and focused, but the journey was difficult, and the path was strewn with sharp stones. One small, sharp stone, no bigger than a grain of rice, worked its way into his sandal. He felt a sharp, sudden pain in his heel. This was the first pain. It was sharp, it was real, and it was unavoidable. It was simply the consequence of walking on a rocky path. But Alistair was in a hurry. He had a goal. He did not want to stop. It is only a small thing, he thought, and he grimaced and kept walking. To avoid the pain in his heel, he began to change the way he walked. He put more weight on the outside of his foot, twisting his ankle slightly with every step. This was the beginning of the second pain. It was not caused by the stone. It was caused by his resistance to the stone. He walked for another mile. The pain from the stone was now joined by a new, aching pain in his ankle and a throbbing in his knee. His entire leg began to stiffen. Still, he pressed on, clenching his jaw. I must reach the monastery by nightfall. Now, to compensate for his aching right leg, he began to lean heavily on his left leg. He limped, dragging his right foot, forcing his left leg to do the work of two. By the time the sun began to set, he was in agony. The original pain from the tiny stone was buried under a new catastrophe of suffering. His right ankle was swollen, his right knee was inflamed, and now his left hip was screaming in protest, and a large, raw blister had formed on his left heel from the unnatural, desperate way he had been walking. He finally collapsed, not from the pebble, but from the cascade of wounds he had inflicted upon himself by refusing to deal with the pebble. As he sat there, defeated, an old hermit, a woman who lived in a cave on the path, came and sat beside him. She watched him try to rub his aching legs. It seems, she said, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves, that one small stone has managed to injure you in many places. The stone did this to me, Alistair said, his voice tight with anger and pain. The old woman smiled gently. No, child, the stone gave you the first wound. It was small and clean. All the other wounds, the swollen ankle, the aching knee, the raw blister on your other foot, those you gave to yourself. Alistair looked at her, shocked, as the truth of her words settled upon him. The Buddha taught, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. This simple, radical statement is the entire teaching of the pebble in the shoe. We cannot avoid all the sharp stones on our path. The first pain, the pebble, is an unavoidable part of the human experience. It is illness, loss, a harsh word, a physical discomfort as you lie in bed. These things will happen, but the suffering, the swollen ankle, the aching knee, the raw blister on the other foot, this is the second wound. And the old hermit was right. This we give to ourselves. Alistair's story, our story, is the story of creating a catastrophe out of a discomfort. Why do we do this? Why do we so readily inflict these second wounds upon ourselves? Zen Buddhism points to several deep habits of the mind that create this pattern. First is our deep, ingrained habit of aversion. This is the mind's automatic, instinctive no to unpleasant experiences. When Alistair felt the pebble, his first reaction was resistance. "I don't have time for this. This shouldn't be here." He refused to accept the reality of the pebble. As you lie here, you might feel a restless leg or an ache in your shoulder. That is the pebble. What is your mind's first reaction? Is it no? Is it a tensing, a resistance? That is the beginning of the limp. Second is our tendency toward identification. We merge with the experience. Alistair shouted, "The stone did this to me." He made it personal. There is a profound difference between the thought, "There is pain being experienced," and "I am in pain." When we identify, the pebble becomes who we are. It defines our entire reality. When we observe it with a little space, it is just one small sensation in a much larger field of awareness. Third is our habit of proliferation. The mind's runaway tendency to build a story, to create a cascade. Alistair's physical limp created new physical wounds. Our mental limp does the same. A simple worry, the pebble, becomes a cascade of anxieties. What if I can't sleep? What if I'm exhausted tomorrow? Why does this always happen to me? I'll never be able to cope. Each thought is another wound, another blister, until we collapse. Not from the original pebble, but from the weight of the story we built around it. These mental habits, aversion, identification, and proliferation, this is our limp, and it operates almost entirely on autopilot. This is why the Buddha emphasized mindfulness as the antidote. Mindfulness is the simple, revolutionary act of stopping. It is the wisdom to pause, to take off the shoe, and to look, to see the pebble, just as it is. Not a catastrophe, not a personal insult, just a small, sharp stone. When we see it clearly, we know what to do. We don't asterisk, times need to limp. We don't need to create a drama. We just, gently, remove the stone. How do we do this with our thoughts? When a worry, a pebble, appears in your mind tonight, can you just look at it with kind, curious attention, without aversion, without identifying, without proliferating? You simply are a worry. You see the pebble, and in that seeing, it loses its power to make you limp. The path to freedom is not in finding a world with no pebbles. That world does not exist. The path is in learning to stop and attend to our own wounds, with wisdom and with kindness. Now, let us journey to a place of great sorrow and the beginning of a profound awakening. This is the parable of the single leaf. Long ago, there lived a young woman named Lyra. Her world was her young son, and her love for him was as vast and bright as the summer sky. But a cruel fever, a shadow in the heat, came and stole him away. Her son grew cold in her arms. Grief, in its terrible power, broke Lyra's mind. She could not, would not, accept what had happened. She continued to carry his small, still body, rocking him, whispering to him, wandering from market to temple, desperately seeking a cure for what was already final. Her heart was a house closed to the truth. The villagers, seeing her undone by sorrow, turned away, their own hearts breaking. "There is no cure for this," they whispered. One day, her wandering feet carried her to the edge of the forest, to a small hut where a wise old sage, known for his compassion, lived in silence. Lyra stumbled before him, her eyes wild with a pain that had consumed her. She laid her child at his feet. "Master," she pleaded, her voice a raw whisper. "They say, you have great power. Please, give him back to me. I cannot live without him. Bring him back." The sage looked at her, his eyes holding the depth of 1,000 winters and the warmth of 1,000 springs. He saw her suffering, and he did not turn away. He thought for a long, quiet moment, and then spoke. "I will help you, Lyra," he said softly. "But first, you must do one thing for me. Go, walk this entire forest, and bring me back a single leaf from a tree that has never known loss, a tree that has never, ever shed a leaf." A fragile, desperate hope flickered in Lyra's chest. A leaf, yes, a single leaf from a tree that does not change, a tree that does not know this cycle. "Bring it to me, and I will perform the miracle you seek." Lyra nodded, her mind clinging to this one impossible task. She gathered her child in her arms and ran into the forest. She went to the first tree, a magnificent, ancient oak, its branches like strong arms reaching for the sky. "Surely you," she whispered, "are too strong to know loss." But as she looked down, she saw a carpet of brown, withered leaves from the autumn past, lying at its roots. She hurried on, deeper into the forest, her hope a frantic bird in her chest. She came to a tall, slender pine. "You are evergreen," she pleaded. "You must be the one." She touched its rough bark, but as she did, a gentle breeze moved through its needles, and a cascade of old, brown needles fell silently to the forest floor. "Even you," she murmured. "Let go." She went to the willow by the stream, its branches weeping, and saw its own yellowed leaves drifting away on the water. She went to the vibrant maple and saw the scars where last year's branches had broken, and the empty spaces where new leaves were only just beginning to form. House after house, tree after tree. Her desperate search continued. With every tree, the same story: the strong oak, the steady pine, the graceful willow, the vibrant maple. All of them lived by letting go. They shed their old leaves to make way for the new. They dropped their branches to survive the winter storms. Loss was not their enemy. Loss was their way of life. The sun began to dip below the trees, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, the color of bruising and the color of peace. Lyra's frantic running had slowed. Her chest, which had been tight with a scream for hours, began to soften. She was no longer just a mother carrying a lost child. She was a woman walking in a forest. She stopped. Her arms ached. Her heart ached. But it was a different ache now. It was not the sharp, hot ache of resistance. It was the deep, heavy, shared ache of reality. She looked at the ancient, silent trees around her, the sky, the earth, and for the first time, she saw that she was not alone in her grief. She was part of a world that was defined by change, by loss, by letting go. The trees, the river, the stars. They all knew this truth. Now, she knew it too. As the last light faded, Lyra returned to the sage's hut. She was empty-handed. She knelt before him, and very gently placed her son's body on the soft moss. Her hands no longer trembled with desperation, but with a new, profound acceptance. "Master," she said, and her voice was clear, though it was broken. "I could not find the leaf. There is no tree that has not known loss. Every tree must shed its leaves to live. I see that now. I understand." The sage nodded, his eyes filled with compassion. "You have learned the great truth, Lyra. Loss is not a curse upon you. It is the law of the forest. It is the law of life. It is shared by all beings. Your grief is the grief of the world." With these words, Lyra's heart, the house that had been closed so tightly, finally, gently, opened. She could bury her son. She could begin to heal. The Buddha taught, "Everything that has a beginning has an ending. Make your peace with that, and all will be well." This profound, unshakable truth is the heart of Lyra's journey. Her story, the story of the impossible leaf, illuminates one of the most challenging, yet liberating, truths of our existence. Impermanence, nothing, lasts forever. And our desperate attempts to deny this reality are the deepest source of our suffering. Why do we fight this truth so fiercely? Zen Buddhism points to our deep-seated craving, our clinging to permanence as the root. We want the people we love to stay with us forever. We want the moments of joy to never end. We want our health, our youth, our very lives to be exempt from the cycle of change. This craving for permanence, in a world that is defined by change, creates a fundamental, painful tension. Like Lyra, our first response to loss is often denial. We refuse to accept what has happened. We carry the body of what is gone, a relationship, a job, a past version of ourselves, refusing to bury it. We expend enormous energy trying to reverse what cannot be reversed. This denial is a natural part of grief, but when we become stuck in it, we cannot heal. Notice the wisdom of the sage. He did not lecture Lyra on the doctrine of anicca or impermanence. He did not give her a philosophy. He gave her an experience. He sent her on a journey to discover this truth for herself. In the most powerful, undeniable way, the Buddha said, "The root of suffering is attachment." In Lyra's story, her attachment was not just her love. It was the desperate, clinging grip that could not accept the reality of her son's passing. Her journey to find a leaf from an unchanging tree was a journey into the heart of reality. It forced her to see that every tree, to be alive, must participate in the cycle. Every household in the original story had known death. Every tree in this one had known loss. This is the great, shared nature of existence. It connects all of us. When we truly understand that loss, that change touches everything, our own grief, while still so painful, becomes less isolating. It becomes less of a personal curse and more of a shared, universal truth. We recognize our experience as part of the great rhythm of the forest, rather than a unique tragedy that cuts us off from life. As you lie here tonight, what leaves are you trying to hold on to? Perhaps it is the day that has just passed. Perhaps it is a worry about tomorrow, a desire for things to be different than they are. We resist the small death of the day ending. We cling to control. We cling to our thoughts. The Buddha taught, the trouble is, you think you have time. This is not a morbid thought. It is an invitation to live, to love, and to let go with grace. In your own experience of loss, large or small, can you recognize the lesson of the single leaf? Can you see how your suffering may be intensified by resisting the natural, necessary flow of change? Can you find a strange, deep comfort in the universality of impermanence? Can you see how accepting this truth might ease your suffering, not by diminishing your love, but by placing it within the vast, shared, and sacred rhythm of all life. As the Buddha taught, in the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. Let us now visit a small, quiet garden where a lesson about suspending our judgment and finding balance in life's constant changes is waiting for us. In a village nestled between the mountains and the sea, there lived an old gardener. He was known by all for his remarkable plants and his even more remarkable calm. His garden was a place of vibrant life, but the weather in the valley was notoriously unpredictable. His neighbors were farmers who lived by the mercy of the sky, and their moods rose and fell with the forecasts. One spring, a long, dry drought settled over the land. The earth cracked, and the young plants withered. The neighbors came to the gardener's gate, wringing their hands. "This is terrible," they cried. "This drought, it is a disaster. We will lose everything." The old gardener, who was patiently mulching his soil, looked up and smiled calmly. "A drought," he said, nodding. "Good." His neighbors were baffled. "Good? What is good about it? Your plants are thirsty." "Yes," the gardener replied. "And now, their roots must learn to grow deep, to search for the hidden water. Deep roots are good." The neighbors shook their heads, convinced the old man was eccentric. A few weeks later, the drought broke. But it did not just rain. A furious storm swept in from the sea, lashing the village with wind and water. The soil turned to mud, and small streams overflowed. The neighbors, once again, ran to the gardener. "A flood!" they shouted. "This is a catastrophe. The drought was bad, but this is worse. Our seeds will be washed away." The gardener, who was digging a new channel for the excess water, simply said, "A flood. Good, good," they exclaimed, astonished. "How can this be good?" "The earth was very thirsty," he said. "Now, it will drink its fill. The land is washed clean. This is also good." The floodwaters receded, leaving behind a dark, rich silt, a gift from the river that nourished the deep-rooted plants. But this new, lush growth, this sudden abundance, attracted new visitors. A great, chattering flock of birds, more than any had ever seen, descended upon the garden. They feasted on the tender shoots and the new seeds. The neighbors, seeing this new development, rushed back, this time filled with exasperation. "Old man, this is a plague. Your good flood has brought this curse upon you. They are eating your entire harvest. This is truly terrible luck." The gardener, who was sitting on a small stool, simply watching the cloud of birds, turned to his neighbors. He smiled. "The birds are eating," he said. "Good." The neighbors were speechless. "Good. They are destroying everything. They are eating," he repeated, his voice gentle as the breeze. "They are full, and they are spreading seeds to the places I cannot reach, high on the mountain. They are leaving their own gifts for the soil. The garden shares. This is good." Later that summer, soldiers from the Imperial Army marched through the valley, conscripting food and supplies from every farm. They took the neighbors' meager, drought-stricken crops, leaving them with almost nothing. When they came to the old gardener's land, the captain saw the flocks of birds and the half-eaten plants. "There is nothing here but what the birds have left," he said in disgust. And the army marched on, leaving the gardener's abundant, though messy, garden untouched. His deep-rooted plum survived. The neighbors returned. "Your luck," they whispered, in awe. "The birds, they saved you." The gardener, quietly harvesting what remained, simply said, the army passed. Good, the Buddha taught. In the sky, there is no distinction of east and west. People create distinctions out of their own minds and then believe them to be true. This profound wisdom is the very soil of the gardener's peace. His consistent, gentle response, good, is not a form of blind optimism. It is the evidence of a mind that has transcended judgment. His neighbors represent our ordinary, habitual mind. The mind that lives on an emotional roller coaster, lurching from elation to despair, based on the weather of our lives. We are so quick to label, to categorize every event, every thought, every sensation, good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure, fortunate or unfortunate. This is dualistic thinking. It is the root of our anxiety. We spend our lives desperately clinging to the good labels and frantically resisting the bad ones. Our peace is fragile, completely at the mercy of changing circumstances we cannot control. The gardener demonstrates a more profound way. His wisdom is not indifference. Notice, he was not passive. When the drought came, he mulched. When the flood came, he dug channels. He acted with wisdom and care, but he did not allow his inner peace to be washed away or dried up by the conditions. This is the deep, balanced state the Buddha called equanimity, upekkha. It is the mind that remains steady, centered, and spacious amid all of life's inevitable ups and downs. The gardener had moved beyond the neighbor's dualistic game. His good was a radical act of acceptance. It was a way of saying, this is what is happening, and within this, there is a gift, there is a lesson, there is a way to grow. He did not deny the reality of the drought. He honored its lesson, the need for deep roots. He did not curse the flood. He received its gift of rich soil. He did not see the birds as a plague. He saw them as part of the whole, partners in the garden's life. He had found the middle way, a path of peace, not by avoiding the extremes, but by holding them in a larger, wiser, more compassionate embrace. How often, as you lie here, does your mind play the neighbor's game? You review your day. This part was good. This part was terrible. I failed at this. I succeeded at that. Each label, each judgment, is a small pebble that disturbs the stillness of your mind. Or you anticipate tomorrow. That meeting will be bad. That reunion will be good. And your peace is lost to a future that does not exist. Tonight, can you practice the gardener's wisdom? As a thought of a bad day arises, can you meet it with that gentle, spacious, "Ah, yes, the soil was turned over. What roots grew deeper today?" As a worry about tomorrow arises, can you see it as just weather, a passing cloud, not a permanent catastrophe? This perspective, this gentle, non-judgment, is the fertile ground for the deepest rest. When we stop insisting that life and our day should have been different, we find a profound freedom. We let go of the need to be right, the fear of being wrong, and we simply are. As the Buddha taught, with our thoughts, we make the world. The gardener's good reminds us that we always have a choice, not in what happens to us, but in how we relate to what happens, and in that choice lies all our peace. Our next story reveals the power of non-reactivity and the mastery of our inner peace. A wise Zen nun named Kiko was meditating in a temple courtyard when a contingent of soldiers marched into the village. Their captain, a man with a face hardened by conflict and a loud, abrasive voice, stormed into the temple grounds, demanding supplies and lodging. His men were rough, knocking over statues, shouting. The captain saw Kiko, sitting motionless, her eyes closed. He felt insulted by her calm, by her refusal to acknowledge his power. He strode over to her and stood directly in front of her, blocking the sunday. "Old woman," he shouted, "do you not see me? I am a captain. Your village is under my command. Why do you not bow? Why do you not show fear?" Kiko, very slowly, opened her eyes. There was no fear in them. There was no anger. There was only a deep, profound stillness. She looked at him and did not speak. This enraged the captain. He drew his sword, its sharp edge gleaming. "I could kill you where you sit, and you show me no respect." He raised his voice, his face turning red, hurling insults at her practice, at her silence. Kiko remained still, her gaze unwavering. Finally, exhausted by his own rage, the captain lowered his sword, breathing heavily. "Why? Why do you not react? Are you deaf? Are you a fool?" Kiko finally spoke. Her voice was soft, like wind chimes in the distance. "Your anger," she said, "is a fire. It is bright, and it is hot. I see it." "Then why are you not burned?" he demanded. "Because," she replied, "my breath is the wind, and I can choose. I can breathe on your fire, fanning it into a great blaze that consumes us both. Or I can breathe around it, very gently, giving it space, until it finds it has no more fuel and becomes only quieter." The captain was stunned. Her words were not a defense. They were a teaching. He stared at the small, calm woman, and then at the sword in his hand. Kiko continued, her voice still a soft whisper. "You have come here, offering me a great gift, the gift of your anger, your fire. You have held it out, wanting me to take it. But tell me, Captain," she asked gently, "if someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does that gift belong?" The captain, a man of action, not words, was puzzled by the question. He thought for a moment. It would still belong to the one who offered it. "Exactly," Kiko nodded. "You have offered me your fire, and I do not accept it. The anger, the heat, the poison, it remains with you. I cannot be burned by what I do not take. I see your fire, and I feel only compassion for the one who must carry such a hot and heavy thing. I choose peace. I choose to breathe around the flame, and your fire, Captain, has no fuel here." The captain stood in the sudden, ringing silence of the courtyard. He looked at the sword in his hand, a tool for creating reactions, a tool that was now useless. He saw his own reflection in the calm, clear eyes of the nun. He saw the red in his face, the tension in his shoulders, the fire he had been carrying, not just today, but for years, and he realized he was the one who was burning. Slowly, his shoulders slumped. The redness in his face began to fade. With a clatter, he dropped his sword onto the stone path. Ashamed, he bowed his head. "Master, I see now. I have been carrying this fire and burning only myself. How do I put it down?" Kiko smiled, a warmth that was not heat. "You have just begun," she said. "You have just exhaled." The Buddha taught, "You are not punished for your anger. You are punished by your anger." This profound insight is the heart of Kiko's wisdom. It reveals why reactive emotions cause us such deep, personal suffering. When we carry anger, resentment, or hatred, we damage ourselves far more than we damage the person who triggered us. Every moment spent in a state of rage is a moment lost to peace. Every thought of revenge is our own life force, our own energy, diverted from healing, from rest, from life, and poured into a fire that only consumes us. Why do we cling so tightly to this fire? Why, as the captain did, do we carry this burning thing for so long? Zen Buddhism identifies several factors that make anger, this hot coal, so difficult to release. First is our powerful sense of righteousness. We believe our anger is justified. They were wrong. I have a right to be angry. And because it feels justified, we feel it is worth holding on to. We confuse letting go of our anger with condoning the behavior that caused it. But Kiko's teaching shows us this is a false choice. She did not condone the captain's behavior. She simply refused to be poisoned by it. We can set boundaries. We can seek justice. We can say no, all from a place of clarity and peace, rather than from a place of burning reactivity. Second is our deep identification with our emotions. We say, I am angry. We do not say, I am experiencing anger. We make the emotion inseparable from our sense of self. So when someone suggests we let go of the anger, it feels like we are being asked to let go of a part of ourselves, to admit defeat. Zen practice teaches us to create space, to see the fire without becoming the fire, to feel the heat without identifying with the flame. Third is our cultural conditioning. We are often taught that anger is power, that it is strength, that it commands respect. We fear that without our anger, we will become passive. We will be taken advantage of. Kiko's response, her profound, immovable calm, demonstrates true power. It is not the brittle, loud power of aggression, which, as we saw, shattered in the face of true peace. It is the stable, unshakable strength of equanimity. The metaphor of the gift is perhaps the most liberating teaching of all. It reminds us that we have a choice. Emotions like anger, criticism, judgment, they require our acceptance to affect us. When someone directs negativity toward us, they are holding out a gift. We have a choice. We can accept this offering, take it into our system, absorb its poison, and allow it to disturb our peace. Or we can, like Kiko, politely and firmly decline. We can leave the gift with the one who brought it. This is not a passive act. It is a profoundly active one. It is the active choice to protect our own peace. Tonight, as you lie here, reflect on any interactions, any fires that were offered to you today. Perhaps a frustrating email, a difficult conversation, a moment of impatience in traffic. Did you accept the gift of anger? Are you still carrying that hot coal, letting it burn you? Hours later, as you try to find rest, can you, right now, experiment with Kiko's wisdom? Can you see that you have a choice? Can you feel the profound freedom that comes from simply declining the offering? Remember the Buddha's words. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. In letting go of that coal, in your mind, right now, you free yourself. You let the fire burn out, leaving only the quiet, cool air of peace. Let us now travel to a quiet hall in a mountain monastery, where a lesson on impermanence and a deeper kind of love is about to be revealed. For an entire week, a young monk named Ananda had been meticulously creating a sand mandala. He was an artist, and his devotion was poured into every grain of colored sand. He worked from dawn until dusk, his breath steady, his hand precise. He was creating a universe, a brilliant, intricate pattern of Buddhas, flowers, and sacred geometry. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever made. His heart was full of pride and attachment. On the final day, he was complete. The mandala glowed in the candlelight, a masterpiece of temporary perfection. He went to find his old master to show him the beautiful offering. The master came and stood over the mandala for a long, silent moment. He gazed at its perfect lines, its vibrant colors. "It is beautiful, Ananda," the master said, his voice soft. "You have worked very hard." Ananda's heart swelled. "Thank you, master. It is for the temple. It will last for a long time." The master smiled, a small, sad smile. "It is already gone." Ananda looked confused. "Master, it is right here. It is perfect." The master pointed to the open window, the wind, the breath, a stray footstep, or, simply, time. "It is already gone, Ananda. You are just attached to the memory of its creation." "Then why, master?" Ananda asked, his heart aching. "Why create it?" The master picked up a single grain of blue sand. "You do not create it to keep it," he said. "You create it to let it go." The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with insight, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This profound truth is the lesson of the sand mandala. It is the lesson of the teacup in other tales. It is the lesson of the dying flower and the falling leaf. It points to one of the most liberating, yet challenging, aspects of our practice, embracing impermanence, not as a harsh, intellectual concept, but as a lived, moment-to-moment reality. Why do we resist this so fiercely? Zen Buddhism identifies our fundamental misunderstanding of the world as the root of this resistance. We perceive things as solid, separate, and lasting. But in reality, they are fluid, interconnected, and in a constant state of dissolving. This misperception leads to what we call clinging or attachment. It is our desperate attempt to freeze reality, to hold on to things that by their very nature cannot be held. Look at how this manifests in our daily lives. Like Ananda with his mandala, we become attached to our creations, our achievements, our identities. We cling to relationships, trying to prevent them from changing. We hold on to moments of joy, fearing their inevitable end. We even become attached to our ideas, our opinions, defending them as if they were permanent truths, rather than just temporary patterns in the sand. The Master's declaration, "It is already gone," offers a radically different way to live. Instead of denying or resisting change, he embraces it, preemptively, by acknowledging the inevitable end. In the midst of the beauty, he liberates himself. He is free from the anxiety, the desperate clinging, the fear of trying to prevent what cannot be prevented. This is not pessimism. This is not a dark view of the world. It is the exact opposite. It is a clear-eyed realism that paradoxically unlocks a deeper, more profound love. The Master didn't tell Ananda not to create. He didn't say, "Don't bother, it won't last." He taught him how to love it. When we understand that the mandala is already gone, that the teacup is already broken, that the person we love will one day be gone, we don't love them less. We love them more. We love them with a fierce, present moment appreciation that is not distorted by the fear of loss. We can be fully with the beauty, precisely because we know its existence is fleeting, precious, and unrepeatable. We cherish it, not because it will last, but precisely because it will not. How might we practice this already gone perspective as we lie here, preparing for sleep? The day that has just passed is a sand mandala. It is already gone. All its worries, its successes, its conversations, they are grains of sand, already being swept away. You cannot keep it. You cannot change it. You can only let it go. The thoughts that arise in your mind right now, they are like patterns in the sand. They are not solid. They are not permanent. They are not you. They are already gone, even as they appear. Tonight, as you rest, consider what mandalas from your day you might be clinging to, with anxiety about their breaking. Can you experiment with the master's perspective? Can you mentally acknowledge their impermanence, not as a threat, but as a reality that deepens their value and allows you, now, to release them, as the Buddha said? The trouble is, you think you have time. The recognition of impermanence does not diminish life's beauty. It intensifies it. It invites us to be fully present for what is here, before it. 2. Inevitably transforms. Let us now explore a story about the nature of true generosity and the wisdom of compassion. During his travels, the Buddha and his disciples often rested in a grove outside a busy city. A man named Kavi, who had fallen on hard times and lived by begging, heard that the Buddha was a man of great kindness. He approached the Buddha, not with a bowl for rice, but with a heart full of despair. "Lord," Kavi said, his voice rough from shame, "I am a poor man. I have nothing. I see others giving to you, but I have nothing to offer, and my life is a cycle of empty bowls. Can you give me something to end this poverty?" The Buddha looked at Kavi, not with pity, but with a clear, seeing recognition. He saw the strength in the man's hands, the intelligence in his eyes, and the despair that clouded both. The Buddha's own monks were preparing their simple daily meal. The Buddha reached into the sack of uncooked grain. The monks expected him to give Kavi a handful of rice, a simple act of charity. Instead, the Buddha selected 5, just 5, small, hard seeds. He placed them, not in Kavi's begging bowl, but into the palm of his hand. Kavi stared at the seeds, confused and a little insulted. "Lord, I asked for food. This is not even a mouthful. This is a riddle." The Buddha's voice was gentle, but firm. "I have given you what you truly need. You have what I have. I have a path. You have a path." He then pointed to a small, fallow, unclaimed patch of land near the riverbank, hidden by weeds. "That," said the Buddha, "is your bowl. These seeds are your future. Giving you rice would feed you for today, and you would be hungry again tomorrow. I am giving you a tomorrow." Kavi looked at the 5 hard seeds. He looked at the weed-choked land, and for the first time, he did not see an empty bowl. He saw a beginning. The Buddha taught, generosity brings happiness at every stage of its expression. This story of the 5 seeds reveals the deepest meaning of generosity. It shows us that true compassion is always inseparable from wisdom. The monks, in their simple kindness, would have given Kavi rice. This is compassion. It is the heart's natural response to suffering. "You are hungry. Let me feed you." This is a beautiful, necessary, and pure act. But the Buddha, operating from a deeper level of wisdom, saw beyond the immediate hunger. He saw the pattern of hunger. He saw the poverty of spirit, the despair that kept Kavi in the cycle of the empty bowl. To give him rice would have been a temporary fix that confirmed his identity as a beggar. To give him seeds and to point to the land was an act of profound, transformative wisdom. It did not just feed his body, it awakened his potential. It did not treat him as a beggar, it reminded him that he was a creator. This is the union of metta, boundless loving kindness, and prajna, transcendent wisdom. Wisdom without compassion can be cold and hard, but compassion without wisdom can sometimes, unintentionally, keep people small. The Buddha's act was an act of empowerment. He gave Kavi a gift that required Kavi to participate in his own liberation. How does this relate to us as we lie here, seeking rest? Often, our own mind is like the beggar, Kavi. It comes to us, full of despair. I am so tired, it says. I have nothing. I am restless. My day was empty. And what is our first response? Often, it is the simple charity of the monks. We give it rice. We distract it with a phone. We numb it with a pill. We try to force it into submission. We give it a temporary fix, just to make it quiet for one day, knowing it will be just as hungry, just as restless tomorrow. The wisdom of the Buddha is to treat our mind differently. Instead of a temporary fix, can we give our mind seeds? A Zen story, a single conscious breath, a moment of real gratitude, the simple, profound act of giving your body the dignity of rest. These are the seeds. This sleep meditation is not a temporary fix. It is not rice to make your mind quiet for one night. It is the seeds and the land. It is the practice of planting a new future, of empowering your mind to find its own source of nourishment, its own peace. The Buddha's teaching invites us to be more mindful of our own generosity. Tonight, as you reflect, can you move beyond just giving your body rest? Can you empower it to rest? You do this by not just wishing for sleep, but by creating the conditions for it, by planting the seeds, by letting go of the day's weeds, by trusting that the 5 small seeds of your own intention, your breath, your stillness, this moment, are more powerful than an entire sack of rice. You are not a beggar waiting for sleep to be given to you. You are a gardener. You have the seeds, you have the land, and the time for planting is now. Let us now explore a story about the burdens we choose to carry and the ones we choose to set down. 2 gardeners, a senior master named Haru and his young apprentice, Kenji, were traveling together on a long road, returning to their monastery after a day at the market. Their path led them past the governor's estate, a place famous for its magnificent, perfect gardens. They both paused, as gardeners do, to admire the work. They saw the meticulously raked sand, the perfectly pruned trees, the flawless beds of flowers, and, in the very center of the pristine green lawn, a single, large, ugly weed. It was bright yellow, defiant, and it ruined the perfection of the scene. The young apprentice, Kenji, stopped, his face furrowed in disapproval. How disgraceful, he muttered. After all this work, they let that grow? It ruins everything. The head gardener must be lazy. He stood there, shaking his head, his mind filled with judgment. The elder master, Haru, simply stepped off the path. He walked quietly onto the lawn, knelt down, and with a practiced, gentle pull, he removed the weed, roots and all. He then tucked it into his own satchel to be composted later. He rejoined Kenji on the path, and they continued their journey. Kenji was flustered. "Master, you shouldn't have. It wasn't our garden. And what if they saw you? It's not our responsibility." Haru simply smiled, and the two walked on in silence. That evening, the monks gathered for their silent meal. Kenji could not be silent. He kept shifting, sighing, and finally he spoke, breaking the quiet. "That garden today," he said to the monk beside him, "it was beautiful, but for that one terrible weed, I cannot stop thinking about it. Such carelessness." The elder master, Haru, who was sitting across the room, overheard this. He looked up, his eyes clear and peaceful, and he spoke to Kenji. "Oh," Haru said, a note of gentle surprise in his voice. "The weed? I left that weed on the compost pile hours ago. Are you still carrying it?" The Buddha taught, "What we think, we become." This fundamental truth illuminates the difference between the two gardeners. It shows us why Kenji, the apprentice, was disturbed, while Haru, the master, was at peace. Both men encountered the weed, but their relationship to it was completely different. Kenji is our ordinary, untrained mind. He encountered the weed, and his mind immediately created a burden of judgment. This is wrong, a burden of annoyance, such carelessness, a burden of righteousness. They should have fixed this. He did not fizz ten fun nyor, nietically touch the weed, but mentally he picked it up, and he never put it down. He carried it with him all the way home. He carried it into the silent dinner, and it was so heavy, it broke his peace, and the peace of the room. Haru, the master, took a different path. He physically carried the weed. He took responsibility for it, acted, and then released it. He put it on the compost pile, and the event was over. His mind was as clean as the garden he had just left. We are Kenji. Every single day, we walk past weeds. A mistake we made at work, an unkind word someone said to us, a frustrating driver, a political opinion we disagree with, a worry about our health. These are the weeds. And like Kenji, we don't just notice them, we carry them. We carry the judgment, the resentment, the anger, the fear. We carry them for hours, for days, sometimes for years. How many weeds from this morning, from this afternoon, are you still carrying right now as you lie in this bed? How many judgments about yourself? "I didn't do enough today," are you holding? How many judgments about others? "They shouldn't have said that," are you rehearsing? This is the heavy weight that prevents our minds from finding the deep, restorative peace of sleep meditation. Our minds cannot rest because we are still, like Kenji, mentally carrying the burdens of the day. The master's question is the key to our freedom. Are you still carrying it? This question is an invitation. It is a moment of mindfulness. It is the beginning of letting go. Tonight, as you prepare for this sacred rest, imagine all the weeds you have collected today, the little annoyances, the big worries, the unresolved conversations, the judgments. See them, not as you, but as things you have picked up. And now, in your mind's eye, see a compost pile, a place of transformation, and one by one, gently put them down. You don't need to analyze them. You don't need to justify them. You just set them down. You are not the weed, you are the gardener, and your only work right now is to come home empty-handed and to rest. Let us now explore a story about the burdens we create by trying to escape ourselves. There once was a man who became terrified of his own shadow and disgusted by his own footprints. "The shadow is always following me," he lamented, "and my footprints are a constant, messy reminder of where I have been. I must be free of them." And so, he began to run. He ran fast through the fields, but the faster he ran, the faster his shadow followed, and the more he ran, the more footprints he left behind him, a chaotic trail of his own panic. He pushed himself harder, faster. "I am not free," he cried. "This shadow is a curse." He ran until his heart was pounding in his chest, and his lungs burned, and his legs grew weak. He was about to collapse from exhaustion, still haunted by the shadow he could not escape, and the trail he could not stop leaving. Just as he was about to fall, he ran past a grove of ancient, quiet trees, where a Zen master was sitting in meditation. The master, seeing the man's desperate, pointless flight, called out to him. "Stop running," the master said. His voice not loud, but clear. The man stumbled to a halt, gasping for breath. "I cannot stop," he panted. "My shadow, my footprints, they follow me. I must escape." The master smiled, a smile of deep compassion. "You have been trying to solve this in the most difficult way. What else can I do?" the man begged. The master pointed, not to a path, not to a river, but to the cool, dark shade of a large banyan tree. "You do not need to run from your shadow," the master said. "Simply walk into the shade and sit down. When you rest, your shadow rests with you. When you are still, your footprints cease." The man stared. His mind, which had been racing, suddenly stopped. He looked at the tree and its vast, peaceful shade. Slowly, he walked over and sat down beneath it, and in the cool, deep stillness of the shade, his shadow disappeared. The Buddha taught, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." This teaching points to the very heart of the running man's dilemma. It is the wisdom of what Zen calls shoshin, or beginner's mind. The man running from his shadow had an expert mind. He was an expert in his own suffering. He was certain he understood the problem, and certain he knew the only solution. His cup was full. It was not full of theories or opinions, like the professor in other tales. It was full of something far more common and far more exhausting. It was full of effort. It was full of panic. It was full of aversion. It was full of the fixed, expert idea that the only way to deal with a problem is to run from it or to fight it. And so, his world contained only one possibility: run. How often are we this man? As we lie in the dark, a shadow appears, a worry, a memory, a restless sensation, and our expert mind, our full cup, immediately kicks in. It knows what to do. I must get rid of this feeling. I have to solve this problem. Right now, I need to force myself to sleep. I must run. And so, we begin. We run. In our own minds. We rehearse arguments. We plan tomorrow. We wrestle with the shadow of our anxiety. And the faster we run, the larger the shadow seems, and the more chaotic footprints we leave, until we are utterly exhausted, collapsing, yet still pursued. Our solution, Our effort is the problem. The Master's wisdom is the wisdom of the empty cup, the wisdom of the beginner's mind. He offers a possibility that the expert mind could never, ever see. Stop running. Sit down. This is a radical, terrifying, simple idea. It is the willingness to empty our cup of all our effort, all our strategies, all our panicked solutions, and try something new. To do nothing. Why do we resist this so fiercely? Because our ego is attached to the identity of the runner. We are attached to doing, to be still, to sit in the shade. Feels like giving up. It feels like letting the shadow win. To empty our cup means letting go of our identity as the person who is in control, the one who is solving the problem. It is the vulnerability of not knowing. The consequences of a cup full of effort are plain. The man was collapsing. This is what we feel at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning. We are not just tired. We are exhausted from the internal running. The shade of the banyan tree is Zen practice. It is meditation. It is this moment. It is the training to observe, to notice the impulse to run and to choose stillness. Tonight, as you rest, simply notice the impulse to run from a thought, to run from a sensation. Notice your expert mind offering its old, tired solutions. And can you, just for this moment, practice beginner's mind? Can you not know? Can you, instead of running, simply sit? Can you lie here in the cool, deep shade of this present moment and allow the shadow, your restless mind, to simply be? You will discover what the man discovered. When you are still, the shadow rests with you. It is no longer a monster. It is no longer a curse. It is just a shadow. And in that stillness, in that shade, it disappears. Let us now explore a story about the truth we find, not by seeking, but by becoming. There was a small mountain stream born from the ice, clear and fast. It tumbled over rocks and sang its way down the slopes. As it grew, it became a river, wide and strong, proud of its banks, proud of its name, and proud of its journey. It flowed for 1,000 miles, through forests and fields and villages. But one day, the river began to sense a change. The air grew salty, the land flattened, and ahead, it saw a vast, blue, shimmering emptiness that stretched to the horizon. The river, for the first time, felt fear. It had heard whispers of this. The ocean, the place where rivers ended. It slowed, its current growing sluggish, pooling in fear. If I go forward, it thought, I will be lost. I will be gone. My name, my form, my journey. I will be no more. This is death. It tried to turn back, to flow up the mountain, but the force of its own history pushed it forward. It cried out, the ocean is going to destroy me. And the ocean, hearing this, whispered back. Its voice was like the sound of 1,000 rivers, all speaking at once. You are not being destroyed, the ocean murmured. You are returning. You are not losing yourself. You are realizing yourself. You were never just a river. You were, and always have been, water. And I am what you are. Come, join. You are not ending. You are becoming, everything. The Buddha taught, if you cannot find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it? This profound insight lies at the heart of the river's great fear and the ocean's great peace. It challenges our deepest, most common spiritual misunderstanding. We are the river. We are born. We take a form. We gather a name, a history, a personality, an ego, and we become very attached to this riverness. We believe this is who we are, and we spend our lives seeking. We seek the ocean. We seek enlightenment, peace, God, or truth, as if it is a destination, a place, a beautiful temple, a sacred mountain, a final state, somewhere else. And, just like the river, we are terrified of what it will take to get there. We are terrified of losing ourselves. The ego, the river, hears the word non-self, anatta, and it sounds like death. It hears the word emptiness, sunyata, and it sounds like a void. It is terrified of dissolving. The ocean's wisdom is the core of Zen. You are not being destroyed. You are returning. You are not losing yourself. You are realizing yourself. This is the radical, liberating truth. Enlightenment, peace, is not a place the river goes to. It is the river's realization that it was never just a river. It was, and always has been, water. The truth was not waiting in the ocean. The truth was in the river, all along, in the water, in the flow, in the tumbling over the rocks. The river was already the ocean, just in a different form. This is what the Zen master meant in the other story, about the dirty road. The truth is here, in the mud. The truth is here, in the river of your life. It is not confined to the beautiful ocean of a special spiritual state. This is not just philosophy. This is the key to your rest tonight. As you lie here, you may have a fear similar to the river's, a fear of letting go, a fear of dissolving. What will happen if I am not in control? If I stop thinking, stop planning, stop being? Who am I? We fear sleep. In the same way the river fears the ocean, we fear that loss of control. The ocean's wisdom is for you. Now, that which is afraid is only the river, the temporary collection of thoughts, worries, and plans that you call you. But your true nature, your deeper consciousness, is the water. It is the vast, silent, peaceful awareness that is already the ocean. Sleep is not an ending. It is a returning. It is the river, joyfully, gratefully, merging back into the vastness that it was never separate from. You do not need to seek peace. You just need to stop being afraid of the peace that you already are. Can you, like the river, let go of your banks, your worries, your plans, your identity, just for tonight? Can you trust the flow? Can you feel that you are not losing yourself in the darkness? You are becoming everything. In a village known for its fine clay, lived a young potter named Ren. He was exceptionally skilled. His hands were quick. His eye for form was precise. But he was also his own harshest critic. His shelves were filled with beautiful work, but he saw only the flaws. His mind was a battlefield of ambition and fear. He heard of a reclusive master, an old woman named Suki, who lived by the river and was said to form pots that seemed to have been breathed into existence. Ren made the long journey and presented himself. "Master," he said, bowing, "I have practiced for years, My technique is good, but my hands shake. My mind is divided. I am afraid of the clay, afraid of failing it. Please, teach me your secret." Suki, without a word, led him to her simple wooden wheel by the open window. She placed a large, wet lump of clay onto the center. "Sit," she said. "Make a simple bowl." Ren Saturday. The master was watching. His heart began to pound. He centered the clay, his hands trembling just slightly. He began to pull the walls up. "You are thinking," Suki said. Her voice was not a criticism, just a fact. "I am trying to center it," Ren replied, his knuckles white. "No," Suki said. "You are trying to succeed. You are trying to impress. The clay feels this, and it fights you." As she spoke, the clay, sensing his tension, suddenly wobbled, and the half-formed bowl collapsed into a wet, grey mass. Ren let out a cry of frustration. "I cannot do it when you watch." Suki nodded and placed her own ancient hands over his. They were steady and warm. "You are not the problem, Ren. The problem is your effort. This is the secret you seek," she said gently. "You are divided. Part of you wants to make a bowl. The other part is afraid of making a bad bowl. Part of you is the potter. The other part is the judge. Let go. Forget the bowl. Forget me. Feel the clay. And just let it pass through your hands." The Buddha taught, your work is to discover your world. And then, with all your heart, give yourself to it. This teaching perfectly captures the essence of the master potter's wisdom. True mastery, in pottery, in archery, or in the art of living, comes not from technique alone. It comes from total presence. It comes from the dissolution of the separate self, the inner critic that creates division within us. Ren's problem is our problem. He was, as Suki said, divided. Why do we struggle to achieve this state of undivided attention? Zen Buddhism identifies this fragmentation as the root of our suffering. First is our habitual self-consciousness. This is the judge. It is the part of our mind that stands apart from our experience, constantly evaluating our performance. Am I doing this right? Am I succeeding? What will they think? For Ren, it was, am I impressing the master? Is this bowl perfect? This observing, judging ego creates an artificial, painful separation between ourselves and our actions. Second is our attachment to outcomes, our fixation on success or failure. When Ren focused on the perfect bowl, he introduced tension, hesitation, and fear. When we focus on the perfect night's sleep, we do the same. Third is our fear. The young potter's fear of failing the clay represented all the ways we hold back from full commitment because we are afraid of the outcome. In Japanese Zen, this state of complete absorption, the master's state, is called mushin, no mind. It is not the absence of thought, it is freedom from attachment to thought. It is a condition where the distinction between the potter and the clay, between the subject and the object, dissolves. Action flows without the interference of the self-conscious judge. Athletes call it being in the zone. Musicians know it as becoming one with the music. The master potter, Suki, no longer makes a pot. She becomes the potting. The clay simply passes through her hands, the Buddha said. Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame. This steadiness comes from complete immersion in the present activity, undistracted by concerns about how we are doing or whether we will succeed. The potter's lesson is perhaps the most profound lesson for the act of falling asleep. As you lie here, you cannot try to sleep. The very act of trying creates the divided mind. It creates Ren, the potter, and the judge. There is the part of you that wants to sleep, and then there is the judge, the self-conscious part, that is checking, am I asleep yet? Why isn't this working? My mind is too busy. I am failing at this. This is the divided mind. This is Ren, with his hands shaking at the wheel, and sleep, like the clay, collapses under this tension. Tonight, can you approach rest with the master's undivided attention? Can you let go of the outcome of sleep? Can you forget the judge? Can you, instead, just be? Can you let the clay pass through your hands? Can you just feel, without judgment, feel the weight of your body as the potter feels the clay? Feel the rhythm of your breath as the potter feels the wheel. Your work is not to achieve sleep. Your work is to discover the feeling of resting, and with all your heart, give yourself to it. Remember the Buddha's words, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. The tranquility you seek is not in the result of sleep. It is available in the complete, undivided, simple act of resting. Right now, let us now explore a story about the solutions that hide just beyond our assumptions. In a monastery built high in the mountains, there was a small, annex building, a library of ancient scrolls that had not been opened in a generation. One day, a young, ambitious monk, let us call him Tetsu, was given the task of opening it. He went to the door. It was a massive, heavy, iron-banded door. It looked impenetrable. He put his shoulder to it and pushed. It didn't budge. It is stuck, he thought, sealed by time. He went away and returned with 2 other strong monks. They put their shoulders to it. 1, 2, 3. Push. The door did not move. The wood did not even groan. Tetsu was a man of great determination. He would not be defeated. He returned with a heavy wooden beam to use as a battering ram. He and the other monks slammed it against the door again and again. The sound echoed across the courtyard, a sound of great, frustrated effort, but the door remained closed. Finally, Tetsu, covered in sweat and dust, sat down in defeat. He felt foolish and weak. The door was an impossible obstacle. As he sat there, staring at the problem, his old Zen master, a man who moved with the slowness of clouds, approached. The master looked at Tetsu, who was breathing heavily. He looked at the battered, scarred wood of the door. He looked at the heavy beam lying useless on the ground. The master did not speak. He walked to the door. He examined the hinges on the outside. He looked at the frame. Then, very gently, he placed his hand not on the flat, battered part of the door, but on the small, simple iron ring that served as a handle, and with no effort at all, he pulled it. With a small, quiet click, the latch released, and the massive door swung open, inward, gliding silently on its well-oiled hinges. It had never been stuck. It had never been locked. It was, simply, a door that pulled, not pushed. Tetsu stared, his mouth open, as the master, already inside, lit a lamp in the dusty library. The Buddha taught, "We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When our thoughts are trapped in a single, rigid pattern, our solutions become equally limited. We are Tetsu, and the locked door is our restless mind. It is our anxiety. It is the sleep that will not come. It is the problem in our lives that seems massive, heavy, and stuck. And what is our first and last instinct? We push. We put our shoulder to it, with effort, with will. I must sleep. I must solve this. I must fix this feeling. And when it doesn't budge, we don't question our method. We just get a bigger battering ram. We try harder. We fight our thoughts. We wrestle with our anxiety. We fill our minds with the sound and fury of our own desperate, failing effort. We are so certain the door must be pushed. Why do we get so stuck in this one painful, exhausting solution? First is our attachment to expectations, our fixed ideas about how things should be. Tetsu was convinced that a heavy door must be pushed. We are convinced that peace must be won, that sleep must be conquered. Second is our rigid thinking. When our first push fails, we don't stop to look for a handle. We just push harder. We try a new technique, a different meditation. But it's all just pushing. It's all just effort. We remain trapped in the same assumption. Third, and most importantly, is our failure to question our assumptions. Tetsu never stopped to ask, is this actually a push door? This is the moment of liberation. And this is the radical wisdom that Zen Buddhism offers. It is not just another, stronger battering ram. It is not another way to push. It is the master who walks up, quietly, in the middle of our panic, and asks the question no one else has. What if you pull? What if this problem is not a push problem at all? What if the effort is the obstacle? What if sleep is not a fortress to be breached, but a home that you simply pull the door open and walk into? How do we pull? We allow, we soften, we invite, we stop the war. As you lie here, you can feel the familiar, tense energy of Tetsu, the desire to push against your thoughts. Can you, just for this moment, try the master's way? Can you, instead of pushing a thought away, simply pull your attention back to your breath? Gently, can you, instead of fighting the door, just rest against it? This is the power of a new perspective. You are not giving up. You are, finally, doing what works. The greatest obstacles are not the doors in front of us. They are the assumptions within us. When we are willing to see with new eyes, the heaviest door can swing open with a single, quiet touch. A Zen master, Tanzan, was walking a mountain path. He was not with a fellow monk this time, but with a young pilgrim. The pilgrim was a sincere and earnest man, but he walked with great difficulty. He was bent over, and his breath came in ragged gasps. On his back, he carried an enormous, heavy sack. Tanzan walked with a light, easy step. The path is beautiful today, Tanzan said, gesturing to the wildflowers. The pilgrim, eyes fixed on the ground, only grunted. It is a hard road. My burden is heavy. Tanzan looked at the man's sack, from which the sharp edges of stones were visible. Why do you carry such a heavy load, my friend? Are you building a wall? The pilgrim shook his head. No, master. Are you selling these stones at the market? No, master. Then, what are they? The young pilgrim stopped and let the bag fall to the ground with a heavy, painful thud. He opened it. It was full of jagged, grey stones, of all sizes. This, the pilgrim said, his voice full of shame, is a stone for every lie I have told. This one is for an act of selfishness. This large one is for a promise I broke to a person I loved. I carry them, he said, so that I will never forget what a terrible man I have been. Tanzan looked at the man. He looked at the heavy stones. Then he looked at the pilgrim's raw, bleeding shoulders. The Buddha taught, in the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. The pilgrim, on that dusty road, had forgotten this. He had confused punishment with practice. He believed that, by carrying the weight of his guilt, he was somehow becoming a better man. But, as Tanzan could see, he was not becoming better. He was simply becoming crushed. His bleeding shoulders did not heal his past. They only destroyed his present. We are this pilgrim every single night. Our sack is our mind, and the stones are the regrets of the day. A stone for the impatient word we spoke. A stone for the task we didn't finish. A stone for the moment of fear or the pang of jealousy. A stone for the mistake at work. A stone for the feeling that we were not enough. We are told that the day is over. We are told it is time to rest, but we crawl into bed with this invisible heavy sack pressed upon our hearts, and we lie there in the dark, trying to find peace, while clutching the evidence of all our imagined failures. This is why we cannot rest. It is not the day that keeps us awake. It is the stones. It is the rumination. It is the mind's relentless, uncompassionate habit of replaying, judging, and punishing itself for being human. Tanzan did not argue with the pilgrim. He did not judge him for his stones. He simply looked at the bag and then at the man's pain. He was waiting for the pilgrim to realize that he could make the choice to set the bag down. Your bed, this quiet, soft, safe space, is your opportunity. It is the side of the road where you can, at last, stop walking and let the bag fall with a thud. This practice, this moment of sleep meditation, is not about ignoring your past. It is about graceful release. It is the radical act of self-forgiveness. The Buddha's teaching invites us to consider, what purpose does this carrying serve? Does carrying the stone of I made a mistake help you fix it at 2 in the morning? Or does it simply steal the rest you need to fix it tomorrow? Does carrying the stone of they hurt me heal the wound? Or does it just press the sharp edge deeper into your own heart? Tonight, as you prepare for rest, I want you to feel the weight of that invisible sack. Feel the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the busyness of your mind. These are the stones. And now, with your next long, slow exhale, set the bag down. You do not need to carry it into your sleep. Imagine placing each concern, each stone, each regret gently on the floor beside your bed. You are not denying them. You are not forgetting them forever. You are simply recognizing that they are too heavy to carry into the sacred, healing dark. They will be there in the morning if you choose to pick them up again. But you will be amazed how light and small they look in the new day's light after you have truly rested. Remember Tanzan's wisdom. True freedom is not in avoiding the stones. It is in knowing when to set them down. Our next story speaks to the challenge of finding stillness when the world, or our mind, is utterly loud. A young monk named Jizo arrived at a large temple in Kyoto, situated right next to the city's bustling, noisy market. Jizo was an earnest practitioner, devoted to Zen meditation, but he found himself struggling. When he sat for hours in the zendo, the meditation hall, the sounds of the market would flood his awareness. The shouting of vendors, the clatter of carts, the laughter of children, the music of the street. His mind, instead of settling, became frantic, trying to push the noise away. After weeks of struggling, Jizo approached his master. "Master," he sighed, "I cannot find peace here. The noise of the market, it is too much. It prevents my stillness. My mind cannot focus on the breath. I think I must move to a Kyoto mountain temple." The master listened patiently. "Jizo," he said, "the problem is not the sound. The problem is your resistance to the sound." "But how can I not resist it? It is chaos." The master stood up. "Come with me." He led Jizo, not to a quiet grove, but on a long journey into the mountains. After a day's walk, they came to a ravine where an enormous, powerful waterfall cascaded down the cliff face. The noise here was deafening, a thunderous roar of millions of tons of water, shaking the very earth beneath their feet. The master motioned for Jizo to sit on a rock, right next to the roaring falls. "Sit," the master shouted, his voice barely audible above the roar. "Meditate. Find the breath." Jizo looked at the master, aghast. "Master, this is 1,000 times louder than the market. I can't even hear myself think." The master simply pointed to the base of the waterfall, where the water was a constant, blinding white. He then pointed to a small, dark rock, right in the middle of the deluge. "Listen," the master said, "the market is made of many sounds. The sound of this waterfall is one sound. It is constant. It does not change. Can you find the silence inside the roar?" Jizo, Saturday, terrified, confused, and overwhelmed. He could not run. The master would not let him. He had to face the noise, head on. And as he sat there, trying to endure the chaos, something unexpected began to happen. The Buddha taught, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. This teaching is the truth revealed by the deafening roar of the waterfall. It speaks to the radical nature of inner silence. Jizo, the monk, was making a fundamental error. He believed that Zen meditation required external quiet. He believed that peace was something he could find outside himself, in the absence of sound. The waterfall taught him otherwise. The market noise was chaos to him because it was intermittent. It had beginnings and endings. The constant, thundering, unchanging roar of the waterfall forced his mind past its habit of reaction. He could not fight the roar. It was too massive. He could not categorize the roar. It was only one sound. He had to surrender. And in that surrender, something profound happened. His mind, exhausted by fighting, stopped seeking separation. It stopped trying to label. It stopped fighting the sound and simply accepted the sound. And what did he find? He found the silence within the roar. This is not a mystical concept. This is a physiological and psychological reality. When the sound is constant, the mind stops paying attention to the sound itself and shifts its attention to the space of awareness that contains the sound. The silence is not the absence of the waterfall. The silence is the presence of attention that holds the waterfall. This is the power of the cricket in the temple, the deep, subtle truth that is drowned out, not by external sound, but by our own internal noise. Our monkey mind, the chattering, restless quality of consciousness, jumps constantly, judging, planning, reacting. The waterfall is your mind. Tonight, it may feel like a thunderous roar of thoughts, worries, and fragments of the day. Your first impulse, like jizzos in the market, is to run, to fight, to push the thoughts away. You want a quiet mind, but that quiet mind is a luxury that may not be available. The practice tonight is to shift your attention from the contents of the waterfall, the specific thoughts, to the roar itself, the sheer volume of thinking. Can you surrender to the simple fact that your mind is loud right now, without judgment, without resistance? Just say, yes, I am experiencing a powerful flow of mental energy. Then, can you use that flow as the background? Can you find the silence, the stillness that holds the flow? This deep, central calm, this active silence is always there. It is the unmoving rock beneath the rushing water. You do not need to silence the waterfall to rest. You only need to discover that you are not the waterfall. You are the space. You are the stillness. As you lie here, feel the powerful flow of your own breath, the gentle, constant roar of your life. In and out, in and out. And just listen. Listen through the noise to the vast, unchanging peace that has been waiting for you all along. Let us now explore a story about the great reward of simple presence. A young man named Kai traveled from a distant city to study under a renowned Zen master. Kai had read all the sacred texts, and his mind was brimming with theories about enlightenment and nirvana. He believed the ultimate truth must be a profound, otherworldly experience. He presented himself to the master. "Master," he asked, bowing low, "I have exhausted myself with seeking. Tell me, what is nirvana? What is the secret of the awakened life?" The master, who was preparing the evening meal, looked at Kai. "You look hungry, my son. We will discuss nirvana, but first, you must eat." The master placed a small, simple bowl of steaming rice and vegetables before Kai. "Eat," the master instructed. Kai was impatient. His mind was still on his philosophical question. He wanted to solve the great riddle of existence, not eat dinner. He quickly shoveled the food into his mouth, barely tasting it, focused only on finishing so he could resume the important discussion. He ate so fast he choked slightly and had to gulp water. When he was done, he pushed the empty bowl aside. "Thank you, master. Now, please, the answer to my question." The master looked at the empty bowl. "Tell me, Kai, how did the meal taste?" Kai frowned. "Taste? It tasted fine, master. It was simple food. I didn't pay much attention. I was focused on our conversation." The master shook his head gently. Kai, you have missed it." "Missed what, master? The rice?" "No," the master said softly. "You missed the moment. The steam rising from the bowl, the fragrance of the herbs, the warmth in your hands, the miracle of nourishment entering your body. That was nirvana. It was right there, in your hands. Kai stared at his empty bowl. Nirvana is not a destination at the end of a long, philosophical journey, the master explained. Nirvana is the simple, complete, unburdened presence that you bring to the act of eating. It is the joy of the ordinary. Because your mind was traveling to the idea of enlightenment. You missed the enlightenment that was already present in your most basic human act. You did not eat the meal, Kai. Your impatience consumed the meal, and now you are still hungry. I see, Kai whispered, humbled. I was looking for a complicated answer. In a simple bowl, the master smiled. The secret of the awakened life is not found in the texts you study. It is found in the life you live. It is found in the direct experience of this moment, and this moment only. The Buddha taught, the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, worry about the future, or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. This wisdom is the foundation of Kai's eventual awakening. He thought he was seeking nirvana on a distant, spiritual peak. The master showed him it was present in his own, immediate life context. The simple, mundane act of eating, the bowl of rice, represents any ordinary moment that, when met with complete presence, reveals itself as profound. Why do we struggle so persistently with being present? First, our habitual time traveling. The mind's natural tendency to constantly review what has happened or anticipate what might occur. Kai's mind was traveling to the idea of enlightenment, the future conversation, and so he missed the truth of the present meal. This mental movement is the continuous force that removes us from direct experience, leaving us feeling empty even when we are full. Second, our evaluation system. The mind automatically sorts every experience: pleasant, unpleasant, desirable, undesirable. Kai viewed the meal as unimportant compared to the important philosophical question. This constant evaluation creates a subtle resistance to what is actually happening. We mentally reach for what we prefer, nirvana, and push away what we don't, the simple, quiet task of eating. Third, our search for special experiences. We believe that peace or happiness must come in a particular, dramatic package. This misunderstanding leads us to overlook the profound beauty and completeness available in simple moments. The miracle of being nourished, of tasting, of being here, is dismissed as just rice. The Japanese concept of ichigo, ichi one time, one meeting, captures the preciousness of each unrepeatable moment. It reminds us that this particular breath, this sensation, this interaction will never occur exactly the same way again. When we truly understand this, presence becomes not a chore, but an inevitability, as we naturally want to show up completely for the unique gift of each moment. This is the key to your sleep meditation tonight. Your sleep is a simple meal that your body is hungry for. You cannot force it to be profound. You cannot rush it. You cannot consume it while thinking about the next meal, which is tomorrow. The practice is to bring the quality of the master's teaching to your bed. Can you bring the quality of presence that Kai missed to the simple act of lying down? Feel the bed. This is your bowl. Feel the weight and texture of your body against the bed. Taste the breath. This is your nourishment. Feel the rhythm of your breathing, the slow, gentle rise and fall, without changing it. Let go of the idea. Stop looking for the answer. Sleep. The nirvana you seek is available right now, in the complete acceptance and feeling of this moment. As the Buddha taught, wherever you are, be there totally. In this complete presence, you discover that the peace you have been seeking has been available all along, waiting only for your full attention to reveal itself. Let us now explore a story that teaches us about our original nature and how simple it is to return to it. A young student named Haruki came to his master, deeply troubled. He had been practicing diligently for many years, striving to cultivate the noble qualities described in the teachings. "Master," he sighed, "my heart feels dirty. Despite all my effort, my mind is still full of grasping, of impatience, of unkind thoughts. I feel further from my true, pure nature than ever before. What must I do to create a pure heart?" The master was quiet for a moment. He then led Haruki to a workroom where the temple robes were cleaned and dyed. The master picked up a bolt of fabric. It was coarse, heavy, and stained a deep, muddy, and uneven brown. "This cloth," the master said, "was once pure white. It was made from the finest cotton, luminous and clean. Then it was dropped into a vat of old, sour, dark dye, the dye of anger, of envy, of fear. Now it is this color. Is this dark, ugly color its true nature?" Haruki frowned. "No, master, it is not. Its true nature is white, but it has been completely obscured by the dye." "Precisely," the master nodded. He then reached into a nearby basket and pulled out another piece of cloth. This one was a blinding, pristine white. "Now, tell me, if I were to tell you to make this dark, stained cloth look like this white one, what would you do?" "I would have to try to dye the dark cloth again," Haruki replied confidently. "Perhaps with a brilliant blue or a radiant red to cover the brown stain. I would have to add something to it." The master shook his head. "Look at the dark cloth again, Haruki. When you dye it red, what happens? The brown is still underneath. The color becomes murky. The dye only compounds the stain. The dark color is not its nature. The dark color is merely a temporary substance covering its nature. If you try to add a new color, a new virtue, a new identity, a new forced idea of purity, you only mix the colors. You make the mind even murkier." The master then handed Haruki a bucket of clean, clear rainwater and a simple block of natural soap. "The work is not to add a new color," the master explained gently. "The work is to remove the old one. This cloth is not the dark dye. It is simply a cloth that has been dyed. It still possesses the inherent capacity to be white. Your purity is not something you create through effort. It is something you reveal through cleaning. The dirt, the stain, the murky color, those are the thoughts of grasping and anger. Your Buddha nature, your pure heart, is the white cloth beneath." Haruki took the soap and the water, and he began to wash. The Buddha taught, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This teaching points to the powerful way our thoughts and mental patterns can either obscure or reveal our true nature. Like the dark dye on the cloth, our conditioned patterns of thinking and perceiving cover the clear, luminous awareness that is our birthright. This inherent purity is what we call Buddha nature. It is not something you have to earn or achieve. It is the original, unstained capacity of your mind. Why does the dye accumulate so persistently? First, what Buddhists call ignorance, avidya. Not a lack of intelligence, but a fundamental misunderstanding of who we truly are. We identify with the stain, the murky color, rather than the clean cloth beneath it. We think, "I am anxious," rather than "I am experiencing the temporary dye of anxiety." This basic confusion is the first layer of stain. Second, our habitual self-reinforcing patterns. Every thought of separation, every emotional reaction fueled by attachment, every act based on a limited self-concept adds another layer of dye. We try to fight the stain with more dye. For example, fighting anxiety with more worrying, creating what seems like an impenetrable coating over our natural clarity. Third, our cultural conditioning often emphasizes achievement and improvement rather than recognition and revealing. We're taught we must add something to ourselves to be complete, rather than simply removing what obscures our inherent completeness. Haruki, the young monk, wanted to add a brilliant blue virtue to cover his brown faults. The master's teaching is the profound shift in perspective. Your anxiety, your worry, your restlessness, these are not your nature. They are not permanent. They are simply the temporary dye that your mind, in its reactivity, has picked up from the environment of the day. Your practice is not about creating the white cloth. It is about the simple, patient, loving work of washing. Meditation, in this context, is the clear, cool rainwater. It trains us to recognize thoughts, emotions, and sensations as they arise, not as solid truths, but as mere dye. We learn to see the dye without being carried away by it. The Japanese term sesshin, which literally means touching the mind-heart, beautifully captures this practice of washing the cloth. In touching our mind directly, we contact what has always been present beneath the obscurations, our luminous, perfectly reflective Buddha nature. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, your work is the same as Haruki's. Can you imagine the day's accumulated dye, the stress, the judgment, the hurried thoughts gently dissolving? You are not fighting your anxiety. You are simply giving it space to rinse away, acknowledging it as a temporary stain on the fabric of your being. The Buddha said, "What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our mind." This reminds us that the dye is not permanent. It can be washed away through aware attention to our present thoughts and actions. Now, let the water of your breath flow freely. Let the soap of your awareness gently lift the stain. Feel the inherent lightness of the cloth beneath. The pristine cloth of your true nature has been present all along, waiting only for the patient, loving work of clearing away what obscures it. Let us now explore a story about the difference between conceptual knowledge and direct experience. A young scholar named Hiro set out on a pilgrimage to a remote, ancient shrine high in the mountains. He was a man of great intellect and preparation. Before he left, he consulted countless ancient texts, topographical surveys, and historical accounts. He spent months creating the most detailed, beautiful, and precise map of the journey ever conceived. His map was a masterpiece. It documented every turn, every elevation change, every stream, and every village. He knew, intellectually, every inch of the path. Finally, the day came for him to travel. He set out, full of confidence. As he walked, he didn't look up. He didn't look at the sky, the mountains, or the ground beneath his feet. He was focused entirely on his map. "The map says, there is a small stream here," he would mumble, carefully checking the coordinates. "The map says the slope is 10 degrees, increasing to 12. He walked with his head bent, his mind absorbed in the complex geometry of his paper reality. His intellect was fully engaged, but his body was disconnected. The actual path, however, was in constant flux. Recent rains had washed out a small section. A landslide had created a new, temporary detour. A large, jagged root had risen up from the earth. Hiro, trusting his map implicitly, walked right up to the newly washed-out section. His map showed solid ground. He kept walking, consulting the precise, elegant lines of his drawing, and then he stumbled. His foot caught the large, unmapped route, and he tumbled down the new, muddy bank of the stream. He landed in the cold water with a painful splash, his beautiful map falling out of his hand, its edges instantly dissolving in the current. A local woodsman, who had been quietly watching him approach, rushed to help him out of the stream. Shivering and humiliated, Hiro pointed to the floating paper. "My map. It was perfect. It promised solid ground. How did I fall?" The woodsman looked at the floating map, then at the treacherous route right in front of them, and finally at Hiro's soaked, muddy clothes. "Your map, young master," the woodsman said gently, "was an excellent picture of the path as it was, but the path is not a picture, it is a journey. You were so busy studying the finger that you didn't see the route. The map is a guide, but the road requires your presence." The Buddha taught, "My teaching is like a finger pointing to the moon. Do not mistake the finger for the moon." This is the very essence of Hiro's painful lesson. He was so attached to the finger, the map, the concepts, the intellectual understanding that he entirely missed the moon, the road, the direct, shifting, moment-to-moment reality. Why do we so readily confuse the map for the territory? First, our deeply ingrained habit of conceptual thinking. We are trained to understand the world through categories, abstractions, and theories. We mistake our mental models for the actual reality they represent. Hiro's map was a perfect concept, but the reality of the path had changed. Second, our cultural conditioning towards knowledge acquisition rather than experiential wisdom. We are rewarded for gathering and organizing information. This conditioning follows us into spiritual practice. We approach Buddhist meditation as another form of knowledge to acquire, rather than a direct experience to embody. We gather Zen stories, but fail to become the wisdom within them. Third, the comfort of the known versus the uncertainty of direct experience. Concepts, theories, and doctrines provide a sense of security and control. They can be grasped and possessed by the mind. Direct experience, however, often brings us face to face with the unknown, the groundless ground of being that transcends our conceptual frameworks. The woodsman's simple truth. The path is not a picture, it is a journey, is the whole of Zen. The path is not solid, it is fluid. It is made of inter-arness, of constant change, of what Buddhists call dharmas, elements of existence, continually arising and passing away. The map is the past's idea of the present. The only reality is the unmapped present moment. The Zen practice of shikantaza, or just sitting, represents the spirit of the woodsman. It is sitting without a map, without a goal, allowing direct experience to reveal itself without the interference of our categorizing mind. It embodies the spirit of walking by, looking at the road, not the map. In your life, notice when you are walking with your head bent over the map. Perhaps you find yourself debating theoretical aspects of a teaching while missing its practical application, or you are collecting spiritual concepts and insights without allowing them to transform your direct, lived experience. Or you are so busy planning tomorrow, the map, that you fail to see the immediate root of anxiety, the shifting ground, right beneath your feet. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, can you let go of all the concepts about sleep? Let go of the map that says, "I should be asleep by now." Let go of the theory that says, "Mindfulness is hard." Simply look at the road you are on right now. Feel the presence of your body, the sensation of your breath, the sound of the silence. The truth is not in the analysis of the map. It is in the direct, simple, humble act of walking the road. And the road, right now, is leading you home to rest. Let us now return to the small, quiet garden and the old gardener who was known for his remarkable balance. This time, we listen deeply, not just to the events, but to the wisdom that holds them. In this village, the gardener maintained his serenity, while his neighbors remained captive to the sky. One summer, a long period of strange, cool, grey days settled over the valley. No rain, no Sunday, just an endless, dull, flat light. The crops grew slow. The neighbors came, complaining again. "This is the worst," they cried. "Not drought, not flood, but nothing. This stagnant, lifeless air. We need the sun. This endless grey is terrible fortune." The old gardener, who was watching the slow, deliberate growth of his mosses, looked up. "The days are cool and still," he said, nodding. "Good, good," they exclaimed. "Your plants are lethargic." "Yes," the gardener replied. "And now, they do not spend their energy fighting the heat. They dedicate themselves to inner strength. They learn the beauty of slowness. The stillness is good." The neighbors shook their heads, unable to see anything but the absence of what should be. Later that season, a single, devastating hailstorm, brief but violent, tore through the valley. It shredded the leaves of the quick-growing, weak plants of the neighbors. Their fields were ruined. When the neighbors rushed to the gardener's gate, they saw his strong, deep-rooted plants, which had dedicated themselves to inner strength, had survived the brief fury. The hail had only stripped away the weaker, outer leaves. "It is a miracle," the neighbors shouted, once again reversing their judgment. "Your slow growth saved you. What incredible fortune you have." The gardener, who was gently gathering the damaged leaves for compost, simply looked at them. "The storm passed," he said. "Good." A few days later, a traveling physician came through the valley, seeking a rare, medicinal herb that only grew in the cool, grey, misty light, the very conditions the neighbors had lamented. The physician paid an exorbitant price for the gardener's herbs, whose quality was unmatched. The gardener, who was once again harvesting what remained, found himself far wealthier than his quick-growing neighbors. They came to him one last time. "We see it now," they said, bowing. "The slowness, the grey, the hail. All of it was good fortune in disguise. You are wise to always see the good." The gardener smiled gently. "I do not see the good," he said. "I see what is. What happens next is just another moment. Now, let us have tea." The Buddha taught, nothing is permanent. Everything is subject to change. Being is always becoming. This truth forms the very root of the gardener's profound peace. His unwavering response of good reflects an understanding that no event exists in isolation. What appears fortunate or unfortunate in one moment will inevitably reveal its opposite in the next. The neighbors embody dualistic thinking, the mind's habitual, reactive sorting of all experience into binary categories: good divided by bad, success divided by failure, sun divided by rain. This way of thinking keeps us in a constant state of emotional turbulence, the roller coaster of reactivity. We spend our energy resisting the reality of the moment because it doesn't match our preferred category. The gardener, however, practiced a deep form of non-judgment, or what the Japanese call fubika, the mind that is free from the preferences of like and dislike. He saw the principle of interbeing. The drought was bad, but it forced the roots to grow deep, which was good when the hail came. The hail was bad, but it saved the herbs from the conscripting army and increased their medicinal value, which was good. The grey, slow light was bad for fast crops, but good for the medicinal herbs. In a mind rooted in interbeing, there is no purely bad event, because every event is inextricably linked to every other event. Every apparent misfortune is also a condition for an unexpected blessing. This understanding releases us from the need to judge and allows us to simply act with wisdom and care, regardless of the apparent conditions. The gardener didn't say, "I see the good." He said, "I see what is." This is the profound difference between blind optimism and radical acceptance. He was not trying to force a positive label onto a negative event. He was simply recognizing the event's complete, unfolding reality. This wisdom is the key to deep, peaceful sleep. Tonight, as your mind reviews the events of the day, it will inevitably begin to label and sort. This worry is bad. This thought is unproductive. This labeling is what prevents true rest. Can you bring the gardener's gentle good? Or, "We'll see to your thoughts." When a worry arises, can you say, "A worry, good. My mind is alert and working. Now, I will release it to the compost pile. When a difficult memory arises, can you say, "A memory. Good. I am learning from the past. Now, I will return to my breath." This practice of non-judgment is your most powerful tool for sleep meditation. By suspending the need to categorize and control, you free your mind from the dualistic cycle of aversion and attachment. You recognize that the stillness and the anxiety are not separate enemies. They are two sides of the same life context, the ever-changing weather of your internal landscape. You are the gardener. Your work now is simply to remain steady, centered, and open to the unfolding of rest. Trust that the wisdom you need for tomorrow is already growing deep within the fertile soil of this present moment. Let us revisit the path, and the man who was terrified of his own shadow and disgusted by his own footprints. This time, we look deeper at the nature of his fear. He ran with desperation. He ran not from the shade, but from the light, because it was the sunlight that cast the shadow, and the sunlight that revealed his path. He ran across the scorching sand until he was dizzy. He was attempting the impossible, to escape the self by the self. His frantic, exhausting effort was his form of sleep meditation, a desperate attempt to run away from his overthinking, but the running only generated more heat, more chaos, and a larger, darker shadow. Just as he was about to fall, exhausted and weeping, the old Zen master, Kenshin, called out to him from the shade of the great camphor tree. "Stop running," the master commanded. The man collapsed, panting. "I cannot. My shadow. It is an embodiment of my past mistakes, my shame, my failures. It follows me like a judge. I must outrun the shame." The master looked at the man's distress, at his raw, bleeding feet, and then at the small, sharp shadow huddled near his knees. "You have confused the effect for the cause," Kenshin said, his voice a cool, gentle stream. "That shadow is not your enemy. It is a gift, master." "How can shame be a gift?" "It is a gift," the master replied, "because it is evidence of the Sunday. Without the light of awareness, there can be no shadow of mistake. It is evidence that you are present in the light." The master pointed to the deep, absolute darkness beneath the camphor tree. "There is no shadow here. But this shade, it is not made of light. It is the absence of light. You want freedom from the shadow. But the true freedom is not in running into the dark, but in recognizing that the shadow is not separate from the Sunday. The shame is not separate from your Buddha nature. Come, sit in this profound shade. Stop your effort. Let your heart rest. When you cease your movement, you cease your footprints. When you cease your pursuit, the chase is over." Shoshin, beginner's mind, is the shade. It is the simple, non-effort of sitting. The man hesitantly stumbled into the cool, silent shade, and in that instantaneous moment of stillness, the frantic, terrifying shadow dissolved. The man running from his shadow believed the solution was to eliminate the past. But the Buddha taught, let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present. The man's shadow represented his accumulated mental burdens, shame, regret, the fixed self-image of a failure, and the sun, the light, represented awareness itself. The shadow is not a punishment, but a sign that you are standing in the light. When we try to run from our shame or our failures, our shadows, we are, paradoxically, clinging to them. This effort to escape creates the constant movement, the frantic thoughts, the footprints that keep us awake. The master's instruction, sit down, is the radical, profound teaching of Shoshin, the beginner's mind. Why is Shoshin the shade? It empties the effort. The beginner's mind does not know how to run. It does not have the expert fixed idea that sleep must be forced. It simply sits, open and receptive. The moment you stop the frantic effort to make yourself sleep, you cease the running that casts the shadow. It dissolves the judge. The expert mind is full of yesterday's history. I had a bad night last night. Therefore, I will have a bad night tonight. This prediction is the shadow of the past, dictating the present. The beginner's mind is free from this history. It asks, what is this moment? This moment is new. This moment is fresh. This night has never happened before. This profound openness disarms the predicting, judging ego. It accepts the isness. The running man resisted the isness of his shame. The mind of Zen Buddhism accepts the isness of the restless thought. A beginner in meditation does not curse a thought. They simply say, a thought, and return to the breath. This non-reactive acceptance is the true shade that dissolves the anxiety. This is the key to sleep meditation tonight. Your mind might be reviewing the day's mistakes or anticipating tomorrow's problems. These are the shadows. Do not run. Do not fight. Running is what keeps the shadow alive. Instead, practice the master's teaching. Find your shoshin. Lie here and mentally tell yourself, I know nothing about sleep. I know nothing about tomorrow. I only know this moment. Feel your body. Let your body become heavy, sinking into the mattress. Let the effort of the day, the pushing, the running, the achieving dissolve. Observe the breath. Gently return to the simplicity of the in-breath and the out-breath. This is the life context of the present moment. It is always fresh. It is always clean. Each time a shadow, worry, regret, plan arises, simply and gently walk into the shade of your own presence. Do not pursue it. Do not fear it. Just sit with it. You will discover that your true nature, your Buddha nature, is the quiet, unchanging earth beneath the camphor tree. It is the vast, still awareness that has never, ever left its place. And in this stillness, the chase is over. Let us now explore a story about the ultimate sound and the quiet we seek. A warrior named Taro had devoted his life to martial arts and discipline. Yet, despite his physical mastery, his mind was a constant battlefield. He sought out a renowned Zen master, asking for a teaching that would bring him peace. Master, Taro asked, bowing, I have heard of a profound sound, the sound of the unmoved heart, which, if heard, brings instantaneous tranquility. I have traveled to waterfalls, listened in caves, and walked through silent forests. I cannot find it. What is the greatest sound a man can hear? The master, a small, elderly monk named Jitsume, smiled. The sound you seek, Taro, is not a note or a vibration. It is the container of all sound. The master then led Taro to the bustling village marketplace. The noise was overwhelming. Merchants shouting, hammers pounding, music playing, dogs barking. Listen, Taro, the master instructed. Taro closed his eyes, his face tight with concentration. I hear chaos, master. The sound of 10,000 directions. It hurts my focus. The master waited until Taro was completely frustrated. Then, quickly, the master reached out and gently placed his palms over Taro's ears, sealing out the external noise completely. Taro was startled. Suddenly, the chaotic market disappeared. He was left with the profound, echoing silence of his own body, the rush of blood in his veins, the faint drumming of his heartbeat, the deep sound of his own breath. It was not empty silence. It was the vast, internal sound of his own life. The master held his hands there for a long moment. Then, just as gently, he removed them. The noise of the market instantly flooded back in. Taro stood, stunned, the external chaos, no longer feeling quite so chaotic. Taro, the master said, speaking quietly through the noise, the greatest sound is the one you heard when your ears were closed. It is the sound of your own awareness, the eternal, unchanging life context of your existence. You were looking for the sound outside to bring you peace, but the silence, the stillness, the great, unmoving space has always been inside you. The market's noise is the chaos of the world. The sound of your heart is the sound of the Buddha nature, and the path to peace is simply to choose which sound you listen to. The Buddha taught, what we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our mind. This teaching illuminates the central insight of the warrior Taro's experience. The states of suffering and freedom, our personal hells and heavens, are not distant realms to be entered after death. They are states created by our own minds in each moment, through our choices, reactions, and awareness. Why do we so readily create our own hell realms, the relentless noise of worry, anxiety, and self-judgment? First, our external focus. Like Taro in the market, we are conditioned to believe that the solution is outside. We try to control the external noise, or we try to find a specific, loud, profound sound that will magically bestow peace. This external seeking is the root of the struggle. Second, our identification with noise. We confuse the constant, analytical chatter of our thoughts with the totality of who we are. We believe, I am my worries, or I am my list of things to do. This identification prevents us from hearing the subtle, unchanging sound of awareness, the deep, stable consciousness that observes the noise. Third, our reactivity. When the external world, or an internal thought, is loud, our mind instantly reacts with aversion, annoyance, or fear. This reaction is the internal noise that drowns out the subtle, internal sound of the heart. The Master Jitsume's action was a brilliant piece of Zen Buddhism practice. By closing Taro's ears, he performed a momentary but profound act of non-reaction. He demonstrated that the solution was not to eliminate the external chaos, but to stop listening to it and redirect attention inward. The sound of silence that Taro heard, the rush of blood, the heartbeat, the breath, is the sound of the Buddha nature. It is the eternal, unchanging life context of your existence. It is always present, providing the rhythm and stability beneath the temporary chaos. This is the key to your sleep meditation tonight. Your mind may feel like the bustling marketplace, overwhelming you with 1,000 separate, urgent sounds. I should have. I need to. What if? Do not fight the market. Do not try to silence it. That is the external focus that keeps you awake. Instead, practice the Master's technique. Gently redirect your attention to the internal sound, the heartbeat. Feel the steady, gentle drumming beneath the surface. It is the sound of life, a constant rhythm of peace and presence that is never, ever chaotic. The breath. Listen to the slow, soft flow of air in and out. This is the simple, immediate sound of awareness that is always available. Choosing to listen to this internal sound is choosing the gate of paradise. It is a conscious, non-reactive choice to shift your focus from the temporary, loud, external Zen story your ego is telling, to the eternal, quiet truth of your own being. In this deep, internal stillness, you discover that the peace you seek has no price. It is not outside. It is the very sound of your own quiet, sleeping heart. Let us now turn to a story about finding the true source of abundance and the wealth we already possess. In a village known for its wandering seekers, there lived a beggar named Jiro. He spent his life searching for treasures, for a moment of luck, or a coin dropped by a wealthy merchant. His clothes were tattered, and his small sack was always empty. One day, Jiro collapsed in despair outside a quiet Zen monastery. An old master, seeing his sorrow, approached him. "Young man," the master said gently, "why are you searching with such desperation? What do you seek?" "Master," Jiro wept, "I I seek fulfillment. I seek wealth, peace, and security. I seek the great jewel that will end my poverty. I have nothing, and my life is empty." The master nodded, his eyes full of compassion. "I understand. You seek the great jewel. But tell me, Jiro, do you carry anything at all?" Jiro laughed bitterly. "Only this, master," he said, holding out his ragged, patched-up robe. "It is old, and it brings me no comfort." The master took the robe. He felt the coarse fabric, examining the many layers of patches and repairs. Then, very deliberately, he reached into an inner pocket, an almost invisible, tattered fold of cloth near the heart. And from that hidden fold, he pulled out a single, glittering, magnificent jade jewel. It was perfect, luminous, and enormous. Jiro gasped, his mouth open. Where did that come from? It cannot be mine." "It was a gift, long ago," the master said. "A generous man, a friend, sewed it into the deepest, safest part of your robe, knowing that one day you would forget it was there. He knew you would always search outside, and that the greatest treasure should be hidden in plain sight, in your own possession. You have been wandering the world, begging for coins," the master said, placing the jewel in Jiro's palm, carrying the very wealth you sought. "Your poverty was not of possessions, it was of awareness." The Buddha taught, "Health is the greatest gift. Contentment is the greatest wealth. Faithfulness is the best relationship." This teaching perfectly reflects the profound insight of Jiro's story. The wealth he sought fulfillment, peace, security, was not external, it was internal. His poverty was not a lack of possessions, but a lack of awareness. Why do we fall into the beggar's pattern, constantly searching outside for a jewel that is already sewn into the deepest part of our being? First, our conditioning toward acquisition. We are relentlessly taught that more is better, more money, more achievement, more experiences. This belief system reinforces the feeling of lack, constantly pushing us to seek outward rather than realizing the abundance available within. Jiro was begging for copper coins when he already carried jade. Second, our failure to recognize simple gifts. Like the thief who couldn't see the moon's beauty in the Zen story of Ryokan, we overlook the extraordinary gifts freely available in each moment. The jewel represents the most simple and profound gifts, the miracle of your own breath, the warmth of your connections, the inherent capacity for clear, silent awareness itself. Blinded by our fixation on what's lacking, we miss the abundance that surrounds us. Third, our habit of seeking the extraordinary. We believe that peace must be an overwhelming, transcendent experience, a great jewel, but the jewel in the pocket was small, quiet, and easily forgotten in the hustle of seeking. True peace often hides in the ordinary, the simple comfort of the bed, the steady rhythm of the heart, the quiet hum of the night. This is the central lesson for your rest tonight. You are not a spiritual beggar. You are carrying the great jewel. Your true wealth is the quiet, luminous Buddha nature that is present beneath the layers of your worries and plans the patches of the tattered robe. This sleep meditation is not about acquiring something new. It is about realizing what you already possess. It is the simple, profound act of redirecting your attention from the external noise of seeking to the internal treasure of being. How do we access this jewel right now? The heart's fold. Feel your hand resting on your chest or belly. That subtle, internal pocket of warmth and rhythm is the safest, deepest part of your robe. The jewel is the feeling of your breath moving in and out of that center. Stop begging. Mentally, release the questions. Will I sleep? Did I do enough today? These are the begging bowls. In this moment, you are full. You have everything you need. Rest enriches. Recognize that the quality of contentment you seek is not waiting for tomorrow's achievement. It is available in this moment of pure, unburdened presence. Tonight, as you rest, Let go of the search. Imagine the warmth and light of that jewel expanding from your center, filling your body with a quiet, profound security. The contentment we seek is not found in what we can obtain, but in our capacity to appreciate what is freely given in each and every moment. A young spiritual seeker, confused by the myriad of practices, came to a wise master who lived near the river. "Master," the seeker asked, his voice full of doubt, "I have studied two paths. One master teaches rigorous discipline, the path of self-power jiriki. The other teaches surrender and faith, the path of other power tariki. Which one is the right boat for my journey across the waters of suffering?" The master looked at the river, where a large fishing vessel was preparing to launch and a small rowboat was tied to the dock. "Tell me," the master asked, "of all the boats here, which one is the best?" The seeker considered the question. "The fishing boat is strong and carries many. The rowboat is quick and quiet. The ferry is large and steady. There is no one best boat, master. It depends entirely on the purpose." "Precisely," the master nodded. "And that is your first error. You seek the best path, but you must seek the right path for you." The master then pointed to the two boats again. "Imagine that the journey across the river of suffering is complete. You have reached the far shore, the shore of awakening. You have stepped out onto the solid ground of the truth. Now, tell me, which boat is more valuable? The one that carried you across, or the one that has already arrived?" The seeker looked confused. "Master, neither is valuable once I have arrived. The boat is the means, not the end. I would leave both on the river." The master smiled. "Your boat is your practice. Your Buddhist meditation, whether it is the rigorous discipline of jiriki or the surrender of tariki, is the vessel. It serves one ultimate purpose, to get you across." He then led the seeker further down the bank, where a sturdy, well-used ferryboat was tied up. The ferryman, an old, cheerful woman, was already on the far side, tying up her boat after a journey. "Look at that ferryman," the master instructed. "She has already crossed. Her boat is on the far shore. Now," the master asked, "which boat is better? The one you are standing in, still waiting to cross, or the one that has already completed its journey?" The seeker's mind raced. "The one that has arrived is useless to me now, master, for it is on the other side. The one I am in is better, because it is here." "Ah," the master said gently, "you are still making judgments based on usefulness and attachment. The path of awakening requires you to see them both as equal. The goal is not to have the best boat. The goal is to cross. And once you have arrived, you must stop judging the journey. You must stop carrying the boat on your back. You must simply stand on the shore." The seeker finally understood. His problem was the judgment itself, the constant need to compare and categorize the methods. He bowed, ready to choose a boat based on his immediate need, not his ultimate preference. The Buddha taught, "I teach one thing and one thing only: suffering and the end of suffering. This is the ultimate function of the boat. It doesn't matter if the boat is powered by self-power, jiriki, the oars of discipline and willpower, or other power, tariki, the sail of surrender and faith. The only thing that matters is its effectiveness in crossing the water and carrying you toward freedom from unnecessary anguish." The young seeker's mistake, common to many on the spiritual path, was his attachment to the form of the boat rather than its function. Why do we become so conflicted and confused about different paths and practices? First, our tendency toward dualistic thinking. The mind insists on sorting complex realities into binary categories: right divided by wrong, superior divided by inferior. This framework fails to honor the plurality of effective approaches. Some people's temperament requires the rigorous structure of a jiriki practice, while others find peace only in the effortless flow of tariki. Both can cross the river. Second, our attachment to concept over experience. We argue passionately about the doctrinal differences between the boats, overlooking whether a practice actually reduces our suffering and increases our compassion in our daily life context. The argument about the boat's design is the mental turbulence that keeps us awake. Third, our reluctance to commit. The search for the one true path, or the best boat, often leads to paralysis. The seeker was so busy comparing the boats that he was still standing on the muddy bank. The only way to know which boat works is to get in and start rowing. This sleep meditation is your boat tonight. It is a form of Buddhist meditation, a simple vehicle for crossing the turbulent waters of your restless mind. Its value is purely pragmatic. You don't need to judge it. Don't worry about whether this specific practice is better than others you've tried. Just step into the boat. You don't need to carry it. Once you reach the shore of deep sleep, you will automatically let go of the boat. You won't carry the idea of the meditation into your rest. You don't need certainty. You don't need absolute certainty that this practice will work perfectly. You only need to trust its function for this one small journey. Tonight, as you settle in, remember the wisdom of the Master. The goal is the shore. The way is not in the sky. The way is in the heart. The boat is here. The water is waiting. Simply get in, take the oars of your breath and your awareness, and gently begin the quiet journey across. Let us now explore a story about the nature of true understanding, which lies beyond the reach of the thinking mind. A young, earnest student named Kiko came to the great master Joshu, seeking the answer to the most famous of all Zen paradoxes. She had heard of the riddle used by Master Hakuin. What is the sound of one hand? Kiko had tried everything. She had rubbed her palms together softly, thinking of a whisper. She had held her hand cupped to her ear, thinking of the sound of silence. She had listened to the birds, the streams, and the wind, hoping to find an external metaphor. All her efforts led only to frustration. She came to Joshu's quarters. "Master," she said, bowing low, "I have studied the Zen Stories. I have contemplated the great koan of the single hand. I have found every answer that the mind can conceive, but Hakuin rejects them all. Tell me, Master, what is the answer that transcends the mind? What is the true sound?" Master Joshu was sitting in perfect stillness, observing the calligraphy brush in his hand. He looked at Kiko, and then, very slowly, he turned his empty palm upwards. He did not move it. He did not touch it. He simply held it. Kiko looked at the palm. She focused her entire awareness. She listened with every particle of her being. "I hear nothing, Master," she said. Finally, her voice strained. "There is no sound. There is only absolute stillness. The hand is empty." Joshu smiled, a quiet, knowing smile. He lowered his hand. "Precisely," he said, gently. "That is the sound you seek." Kiko was stunned. Her conceptual mind, which had been racing for months, suddenly seized up. She realized the profound simplicity of the answer. She had been searching for an audible sound, a concept, a vibration, a description in the realm of the intellect. But the true sound, the sound of one hand, was not sound at all. It was the vast, silent, empty awareness, the space that contains all sound. It was the realization that the answer was the cessation of the searching. It was the profound, direct experience of the mind before thought. "But Master," she asked, still whispering, the final threads of her logical mind grasping for an anchor, "why does the Master Hakuin reject every attempt to describe it? Why does he insist on a direct, non-verbal answer?" "Because," Joshu replied, "the sound of the stream, the sound of the bell, the sound of the wind, these are all concepts. They are all forms. If you try to contain the ocean of silence in a teacup of thought, you only get a wet thought. The true answer," he continued, "can only be heard when the ear of the mind is quiet. and the mind only becomes quiet when it gives up the effort to find the answer. The Buddha taught, "The whole path of mindfulness is this. Whatever you are doing, be aware of it." This simple instruction is the non-verbal answer to the koan. It is the destination that the sound of one hand is pointing toward. The student, Kiko, like all of us, was trapped in the mind's most persistent habit, conceptualization. We believe that truth must be a concept, a definable, graspable idea. Why does the mind cling to concept over direct realization? First, the comfort of certainty. Concepts feel safe. They can be organized, labeled, and possessed. The true nature of reality, which Zen calls sunyata, emptiness, or tan hong, is vast, formless, and inherently uncertain. The mind, seeking control, rejects the vast, empty ocean of the no sound in favor of the small, definable cup of wind in the pine trees. Second, our conditioning towards dualism. The koan, "What is the sound of one hand?" is a tool designed to break the mind's dualistic framework of subject divided by object, sound divided by silence, question divided by answer. It is logically unsolvable. The mind must exhaust its conceptual effort, its running before it can fall into the direct experience of what is. When Kiko said, "I hear nothing," absolute stillness, she was experiencing the answer directly, prior to the mind's attempt to label it. Third, the subtle illusion of attainment. The mind believes that the truth is something to be achieved or found, a secret sound that only the initiated can hear. The true realization is that the truth is not a special secret, but the ordinary space of awareness that is always present. The silence of one hand is the same silence you hear right now. This Zen story offers profound guidance for those who struggle with overthinking and restless minds before sleep. Your racing thoughts are like the noise of the stream and the bell. They are concepts, forms, vibrations. Your effort to silence them is your effort to find the conceptual answer to the koan. This effort only creates more noise. The true practice of sleep meditation is to stop seeking the sound of two hands, the perfect, quiet mind. Instead, you must allow your mind to fall into the sound of one hand, the vast, silent space that already exists beneath and between the thoughts. How do you do this? Stop seeking the answer. Mentally surrender the question, "How do I fall asleep?" or "What is the secret?" The answer is not a technique. It is the absence of seeking. Observe the space. Notice the pause between your thoughts. Notice the interval between the in-breath and the out-breath. This empty space, is the true sound of one hand. It is pure, luminous, unconditioned awareness. Become the stillness. Do not engage the thoughts, the stream. Simply become the vast, unmoving awareness that contains the stream. The silent space of your awareness is the Buddha nature. It is always present. It is always at rest. Tonight, let go of the effort to find the answer. Let go of the need to solve the riddle. Allow your mind to become quiet enough to hear the absolute stillness that underlies all sound. In that no sound, in that profound absence of seeking, you will find the deep, perfect rest you desire. We come now to our final story, the culmination of our long journey. This is the tale of the ultimate seeking and the final, quiet return. A young man named Kale lived a life of constant searching. He felt a deep, persistent ache in his heart, a sense of displacement, a feeling that his true life, his true peace, his true home was somewhere else. He set out on a lifelong quest to find the hidden city of tranquility, a mythical place where the worries of the world could not touch him. He traveled for 20 years. He crossed burning deserts, his periods of intense striving. He climbed treacherous peaks, his periods of self-discipline. He visited every sacred mountain, every quiet temple, and every wise teacher. He collected knowledge, he amassed experiences, and he endured great hardship. Still, the ache of displacement remained. One day, exhausted and grey with age, KL found himself sitting on a dusty road, thousands of miles from where he began. He was broken, his seeking utterly exhausted. As he wept, a ragged, cheerful old woman, a simple shepherdess, approached him. "Traveler," she asked, her voice light and kind, "why do you weep? You look as though you have seen the entire world, yet you are the saddest man I have met." "I am defeated, mother," KL sighed. "I have sought the hidden city of tranquility, my true home, my final peace. I have looked everywhere, and I cannot find it. I cannot return to the place I left, for it is gone, and I cannot find the place I seek." The shepherdess sat down beside him and put a warm, calloused hand on his shoulder. "Tell me, KL," she asked, "when you began your journey, you must have packed your bag. What was the very first, most essential thing you placed inside?" KL thought back to his youth. "My mother gave me a small, simple, wooden drinking cup," he said. "It was plain, but she said it would always remind me to stay hydrated, to take care of my body, and to drink only what is clean." "And did you carry it?" "Yes, always." "It is here," KL said, reaching for his bag. The shepherdess nodded, looking at the distant horizon. "You see that home on the hill over there? That's mine. Tell me this," she continued. "Did your mother's cup change its nature over these 20 years? Did it become a jewel? Did it become iron? Did its capacity to hold clean water ever disappear?" "No," KL said, looking at the familiar wooden cup in his hands. "It is exactly the same simple cup. It is plain, but perfectly functional." The shepherdess smiled. "Ah, KL, the hidden city of tranquility is not a place you travel to. It is the unmoving center within you, the place that never changes, the pure capacity for awareness. You carried the cup for 20 years, but the place that is your true, original home, your unmoving heart, you never once left. You thought the cup needed to find the city, but the city has been sitting patiently in the palm of your hand. For the entire journey, your exhaustion is not from the miles you walked. Your exhaustion is from seeking something that has never been absent. The Buddha taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. This is the ultimate teaching of the empty cup that was never empty. KL's mistake, our common mistake, is the belief that our true nature, our peace, our home, is located somewhere else. This belief drives the endless seeking that fuels our anxiety. This mental pattern is called spiritual bypassing, using the idea of a distant, perfect state to avoid direct engagement with the ordinary, messy life context of the present moment. By placing the hidden city on a faraway mountain, we reject the peace that is already here. The Master's revelation, the simple, unmoving wooden cup, is the profound, ordinary truth of Zen. The cup represents your inherent, original capacity for awareness, your Buddha nature. It is the simple consciousness that never changes, despite the journey, the hardships, or the experiences. The water represents your breath and your presence. The cup's function is to hold clean water. Your function is to hold clear awareness. This is the life context of your every moment. The deepest secret is that you have never left your true home. You only believed you did because you mistook the journey, the thoughts, the efforts, the miles walked, for the self that was walking. This realization is the essence of sleep meditation. When you lie down tonight, you are not setting out on a new journey to find sleep. You are performing the final, graceful act of returning home. Stop seeking. Mentally release the idea that sleep is a distant goal or an achievement. Stop the running that KL performed for 20 years. Locate the home, Your home is your unmoving center. It is the awareness that is simply here. You locate it by focusing on the most immediate, unchangeable reality of your body, the slow, rhythmic flow of your breath. Drink the clean water. Feel the cup in your hand. Let your mind rest in the pure, clear sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. This is the simple, profound peace that has been with you throughout your entire life. The sleep meditation ends when the seeking ends. When you recognize that the quiet awareness that is listening to these words is the very hidden city you have been searching for, the chase is over. Tonight, let go of the exhaustion of seeking. Let your body feel the safety of the bed, the final harbor, and simply rest in the truth that you are already home. As we complete our quiet journey together, let us reflect on the profound truths revealed in these ancient stories. Each one has offered a simple, radical facet of the truth that peace, clarity, and awakening are available here, now, not in some distant future or special circumstance. The ferryman taught us the art of wu-wei, effortless action, and the wisdom of flowing with the current of our mind, rather than fighting it. The artist and the flower showed us how to find beauty, not in perfection, but in the exquisite grace of impermanence. The pebble in the shoe reminded us of the self-inflicted pain of the second wound, and the freedom found in simply choosing to stop the limp of resistance. The gardener showed us the unshakable wisdom of equanimity, accepting the weather of our lives without judgment. The nun and the flame demonstrated the power of non-reactivity, choosing not to accept the gift of anger, but to breathe around the fire. The sand mandala taught us a deeper kind of love, cherishing life and thoughts more intensely because of their inevitability of letting go. The shadow and the banyan tree guided us to Shoshin, the beginner's mind, realizing that the greatest freedom is found in the stillness of simply sitting, rather than the exhaustion of running. The ocean reminded us of anatta non-self, and the liberating truth that we are not the river to be lost, but the ocean to be realized. The potter showed us that true mastery is found in mushin no mind, the complete, undivided presence in the simple act. The jewel in the pocket assured us that the wealth we seek is contentment and awareness, already sewn into the fabric of our being. And the home that was always there revealed the ultimate secret, that the true path of sleep meditation is the return to the simple, unmoving center of your own breath. These Buddhist teachings remain with you, not as concepts to remember, but as invitations to experience your life with greater presence and compassion. Now, let your body become heavy. Allow your muscles to soften completely against the support beneath you. Feel the earth holding you, the universe supporting you. Take one final, slow, deep breath, filling your belly with peace. And as you exhale, sigh out all the effort, all the seeking, all the remnants of the day. Let the river of your mind flow freely. You are not the current. You are the vast, quiet, unmoving shore. May you rest deeply. May you rest profoundly. May you rest in the knowledge that you are already home. Sleep now,